All right, everyone. You all can hear me? Yeah? So, how's how's the audio? So here's the situation right now. Yeah, I know I took a while. I took a long while. How's the audio right now? Because at the moment, I'm not using the Blue Yeti. It's just a little complicated. All right? Yeah, audio is scuffed. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with the audio at the moment. So, I have an Ethernet cable, very, very long Ethernet cable currently attached. All right? How do I explain this? Laptop has only USB ports. It did not have an Ethernet port, so I had to get an Ethernet adapter port, right? Allows it to plug into the USB thing. But that means that I now no longer have another USB port available for the Blue Yeti mic. So the audio is just going to be desktop audio. All right? It's fine. It's pretty much good. Ringy but hearable, says Sean Easton. And Sean Easton's the guy that I trust on this. So we're going to run with what Sean says, which is that audio, good enough. The final step towards fixing this is, of course, me getting one of those things where I can plug in multiple USB ports so that I can get the mic going, get the Ethernet port in, and get the webcam in, all right? No, that says we want Bollywood dance. No, you don't get it because I have Ethernet, all right? I have Ethernet, so there's no Bollywood dance is canceled, all right? That was the deal. Even if the stream fails, I have an Ethernet cable right now, which means that it's no longer my fault. It's just something out of my hands. Alright? Fatinga says, mod me, Lord. Thanks. Chinho Wong says, hi, much. Great to have you here compared to last week. Like the stream. Yeah, everyone, like the stream. Listen to Chinho Wong. Chinho Wong knows what you should be doing right now. AJK says, Mord, your sense of time is on par with Zorro's sense of direction. Alright, listen. So I screwed up. I think the initial time that I had the stream scheduled for was something kind of ridiculous. I just had it completely wrong. I think it was like 3:45 EST or something like that. Brim, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Yeah, I had the time pretty off, but I should speak a little quieter. I can do this. Let me lower this a little bit. How about now? How's the audio now? I lowered it a little bit. Yeah? Oh, shoot. What happened to the chat? Why can't I pop out chat? Alright, let me pop out chat. Makes it much easier for me. It's Le Fraud? Any comparison to LeBron, I'll happily take. Alright, I apologize about the timing, as per usual, but at least we have Ethernet, and at least we have... Okay, has anyone commented on that bookshelf in the background? I haven't seen any comments on the bookshelf in the background. I'm impressed with the bookshelf in the background. Miriam, thanks. Sup, Mr. Morge? And I see Sean is in the good graces again. Yeah, Sean's in the good graces anytime he provides some useful information. But yes, I agree the audio is a little bit off, but it's hearable. Alright, off but hearable. That's passable. We'll take that. The Pirateer, thanks a lot. Love the form versus content vid. If you don't know what Pirateer is talking about, the Pirateer is talking about. It's on the Movie Morge channel. I can't stay for tonight's stream. Oh, that's a shame, man. But what about an analysis on things that constitute a movie's tone? Over other factors, my favorite movies tend to share similar tones. I'll say that that's an interesting idea that I'll add to the pool. There are topics that I kind of have to cover in a bit of an order, because with the movie channel, I'm still kind of finding my footing, right? So, movie channel, for those of you who don't know, nice bookshelf, says Herrick Brandelero. Could use some books, though, says Shinji Ikari. F417 says filled with One Piece manga. There's ideas, alright? It's a start. The thing at the top, actually, so I don't know if you noticed, there's a little lamp at the top. That lamp, it's a lamp that my sister gave me as a gift. It's like a Bluetooth speaker slash electric lamp thing. You guys get it? But if I turn it on, it's shitty. So it's supposed to replicate. It's supposed to be like a fire that's like, fire that's going around in the back. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, it flashes. Okay, it's like it moves, which ruins the stream because it hurts the refresh rate of the stream. All right. So basically, it's a lamp, but I can't turn it on, otherwise it'll have a bit of a strobe effect and ruin the stream. Bookshelf is backwards. No, it's not. No, it's not. Khalid Suleiman says bookshelf is backwards. Alert, alert. Someone who has no sense of culture or style or aesthetic. Alright? I am pretty sure that... Oh, fuck, is it backwards? I don't think it's backwards. It's not backwards. There's no way. Nah. I'll have to re-examine that bookshelf. There's a 1% chance it might be backwards, through no fault of my own. If you see the bookshelf turned around in future videos and streams, we'll just pretend that this never happened. Alright? Son Riku says, nice cut. Nice cut, Lord. Thank you, I did get a haircut. Morge lost his books, lol. Yeah, I didn't bring any book. Like, I moved. I didn't bring any books with me because that's just like extra stuff. It is clearly backwards. How can it be backwards though? Because, all right, I don't think you guys know what you're talking about. The shelf is actually upside down? No, there's literally no way. Look, so there's no barrier right here. You see what I'm saying? There's no barrier, which means that this has to be the back of it. Make sense? All right. We solved it. The bookshelf is right the way it is. Oh, Bashmir Ahmed says thoughts on Squid Game. So that actually gets back into what we were talking about earlier, which is it's literally sideways. How the fuck is it sideways? You want it to be laying across the ground? No, it's not sideways, all right? The bookshelf is perfectly fine the way it is. If there's some artistic, artistic twists on the way that it's assembled, that's just culture, that's just style, all right? Squid Game, that'll probably be one of the next videos that I do on the movie channel because in response to what Pirate Hero was saying, basically I do have to balance a little bit in terms of what is topical, what is kind of going to get a bit of traction among, general audiences and stuff, and then what's a little more technical, a little more nitty-gritty that might appeal to a smaller group of people, but at the same time, I do want to do a bit of a balance of both. So for example, on the movie channel, I did a video on Marvel. I think it's a solid video. I definitely think it's a solid video. I think the video I dropped today, which is more general, just generally addressing sort of film critique, film discussion, how you can think about the way that you watch films, right, versus something that's a general topic like Marvel. The Marvel video did very well, much better than I expected. It actually hit 100, I think it's over 100K views at this point, which is very surprising to me for that channel because that's a new channel and it's a much smaller channel. So I did not expect the video to hit 100K views on that channel for some time, right? The video I dropped today, obviously not going to reach that, probably on pace for more so like 10K, 15K sort of range. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I don't fall into a trap of only doing things that are popular because then you're sucked into a bit of a rhythm where you just have to, you're back to doing things that you don't want to do in the first place, which is kind of the reason I did the second channel in the first place is so that I have a little more freedom to discuss topics in depth that I want to discuss. So I think Squid Game is going to be a nice blend. I've been watching the show. I do have things I want to say about it. No discussion of Squid Game in the comments. So mods, if you see Squid Game discussion in the comments, please ban because we don't want spoilers and not ban, don't ban them, but delete the comments, whatever you guys do. We don't want too many spoilers in the chat and everything like that. So Squid Game I think is the right blend at the moment where between, you can get some more nitty-gritty discussion out of it, but it's also a popular topical thing at the moment. I think on its way to becoming Netflix's most watched show. If you haven't seen it, go watch Squid Game. It's a good show, and also it will get my viewer count up for the next movie Morge drop. Keenan, thanks a lot. If you don't plan to drop a vid soon on it, current thoughts on the raid after the chapter. The raid, next video on the raid, I wanted to do next week, but it'll depend a little bit on how much time I get to devote to writing on next week's vid this week. Basically, I have days scheduled where I work on movie Morge, where I work on main channel, One Piece, where I work on my business. So it depends how tight the week's schedule is because I want to take a solid day to be able to write, solid day or two to be able to write about the raid feeling again. So I was planning on trying to do another raid feel vid for next week, but that remains to be seen if we're going to get time to do that. How plausible is it that Luffy beats Kaido but Momo can't hold up Onigashima? If you plan to vid, don't spoil. In my opinion, I think that Luffy has to lose to Kaido. I don't think it's much of a failure if the failure is just that Momo can't hold up Onigashima. I think no matter what, Momo's going to be able to hold up Onigashima for a good period of time, though. Now, solve your audio and video, bro. What's wrong with my video? My video is great. Miriam says, did you assemble it yourself, Mr. Morch? No, I actually didn't. So I did most of the furniture. I'm not lying. I did most of the furniture assembly for my new place myself just because it's faster. You know, you don't have to wait for somebody. But with the bookshelf, I was so busy and so tired of doing furniture. You should see the rest of my place. I mean, it's not like huge, but like just the few rooms that I have to work with, like the living room and my bedroom, they're filled with cardboard or have been for like a long time just because so much furniture assembly. So for this, I did actually just hire a handyman off of Thumbtack to do the bookshelf. So I do trust that the bookshelf is assembled properly. Whether or not I made it face forward or backwards properly, that's on me. Yusuf K says, why split the Mr. Morge and Movie Morge channel? Wouldn't it be better for long-term success to diversify content on the OG channel? So that's a tricky. Okay, Yusuf K asked a great question. I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit, just because I think that there's probably a lot of people who may be interested in content creation themselves in this chat, or at the very least, even if they're not interested in content creation, just some insight into how it works behind the scenes. So everyone has different approaches. If you know Ohara, for example, if you've heard of Ohara, then you know that he has very successfully managed to split his channel into One Piece content and some variety content. Jujutsu Kaisen does very well for him. I know he had a One Punch Man video that does well for him, that did well for him recently. I think he's had success in the past with a Hunter x Hunter video that's been up and down in general, whether or not he's been able to make Hunter x Hunter work. So it's a little complicated, right? Roger's Base, another example, he runs the full gamut between some manga, so One Piece, then other manga, then Nintendo, and then I think he does some other stuff video game related. I'm not sure. Roger does a few things, right? And then you have someone like Grand Line Review who likes to silo it. So One Piece is this. New World Review, I think, covers Hunter x Hunter, covers variety manga and stuff like that. And then I think he started another channel for Pokemon, for example, okay? So the reason that YouTubers have different approaches of either like trying to make one channel diversified versus starting a new channel, it comes down to two things, okay? You will always hurt your channel initially and usually for a solid period of time when you're trying to diversify the channel, okay? So usually when you're trying to diversify, it's going to affect your channel negatively for a period of time. So you can look at Ohara right now and be like, well, Ohara is doing so well. Isn't that just the way to go? Ohara, I believe at the start of, I forget how long ago it was. Maybe it was the start of this year or the start of last year, but there was a solid period of time where his channel was struggling quite a bit, even in One Piece and trying to diversify. And we would have back and forth talks about that because I was talking about like, well, I want to start a new channel. So I was keeping, close rapport with him and basically trying to understand how he's navigating trying to diversify his content. So Ohara's actually had many forays into trying to diversify his channel. I know trying to include vlogs and stuff like that as well. And it took a long time before finally Jujutsu Kaisen cracked through and his channel did successfully begin to grow with multiple pieces of content, right? And he's able to diversify. But you have to accept that your channel is going to suffer for a while before that. And it'll take a lot of trial and error before something finally clicks. So if I just came onto One Piece and just did videos on movies, the whole channel suffers for a long period of time. And for me, it's tricky because where I was in terms of life, right? Moving, and then on top of that, gotta pay editor, right? And gotta pay, we have an images person now. So there's just, financially, it would not have made sense. Like, even though I really wanted to, financially it would have been difficult to do a long extended trial period of trying out diversifying the Morge channel into different things besides One Piece, right? And at the end of the day, it's still really difficult to do that long term when the majority of your viewership is one thing. So again, if we use Ohara as an example, Jujutsu Kaisen at the very least is not that far off from One Piece. It's just another manga, and in fact in the same genre, it's shonen. and it's really, really popular right now, right? Movies, like the further you get away from like the main piece of content, the harder it is for that channel to do really well diversifying. So there's multiple factors. So if that makes a little bit of more of sense, like I opted to go with the grand line review route at the end of the day of just siloing and saying this channel is for this type of content, this channel is for this other type of content, and it helps me manage expectations in terms of like, if I'm doing the movie stuff on the One Piece channel, then I'm getting upset that like, man, these videos aren't doing well, and on top of that, it's hurting the algorithm averages for for my One Piece videos, etc. Much easier headspace to just separate the two, and then just like let this other one grow organically, and not put any sort of pressure on myself like that it needs to perform in a certain way or anything like that, right? So long explanation, hopefully that was somewhat interesting. If you don't care, then you don't care, it doesn't matter. Enter name says, thoughts on Fujitora / Akainu being brothers? I had never given a thought to that, but that's an interesting idea. I just don't think, I don't know what it would be based off of. There's nothing that happened in the manga so far that would suggest to me that they are brothers. Edwin Rodriguez, thanks a lot. Hey Morge, has your stance on Yamato for Nakama changed? Also, we need Croc's nephew merch. Yamato for Nakama changed? No, not at all. Croc's nephew merch. I'm planning on talking more about that that meme, the Croc's nephew meme in the future, because I just think the whole Yamato for Nakama thing, I don't really understand why it's so prevalent, or why more people don't have I guess a problem with Yamato's existence. Like most people are really, really cool with Yamato just existing and being a really weirdly forced character at the end of this arc. Like there's a lot you could pick apart about Yamato being in the story. Like if this is the final battle, and again, I approach everything, literally everything, with the mentality that this is not the final battle. If this is the final battle, then that changes a lot of my opinions on a lot of things quite a bit. Does that make sense? So to me, Yamato being introduced right now, I don't mind that, and I think it's interesting to see where her character will go, assuming that this isn't the final battle. Now, if this, most people though, on the other hand, they assume that this is the final battle, and they assume that Yamato is going to join here, which just confuses the hell out of me why people are happy about that, because that's like, I don't think you could, like, I don't think I even have to exaggerate much to paint out how stupid it would be if this is the final battle and a character like Yamato is being introduced and made to join the crew during this final battle. It would be really, really bad. Regardless of whether or not it happens, maybe Oda's just gone crazy and gave his pen to, you know, some intern or something who drew in this character Yamato and said that she's going to join right now. Maybe that's the case. But, like, it would be really, really, really bad if Oda just wrote in Yamato to literally join here and this is the final battle. Again, from my mindset, you know, if this is a full arc, we're just at the halfway point, sure, this is a fine point to introduce Yamato, get her character storyline rolling. But, like, if this is the final battle, like most people think, and Yamato's gonna join here, like most people think, that would just be terrible. Like that's literally, like, the Crocodile's nephew stuff is not far off. It's literally the Crocodile's nephew stuff. I'm not even exaggerating when I'm saying all those jokes I made about Crocodile's nephew. That's just what this is. That's just what this is. Like that's there's a whole storyline that happened with a whole cast of characters, a bunch of motivations, everything, like a conflict that's developed. And then you get to the end, and then you just hear about a random relative of the bad guy who also doesn't like the bad guy and is now going to be a key piece in defeating the bad guy and joining the cast of 8. It's so random. It's so random. If that's the case, again, I don't believe that the raid fails here, so I don't think Oda's introducing Yamato crudely or abruptly if this is the halfway point of the arc. If it's the final point of the arc, this is a terrible way to introduce the character. Isaiah Davis says, if Momo is successful in holding Onigashima, doesn't that mean Kaido has full reign to beat the mess out of Luffy, and Yamato still has a nickname? I think that, I don't know what you mean by Yamato still has a nickname. You mean the nickname that Luffy calls Yamato? Because Luffy calls everyone nicknames. Doesn't that mean Kaido has full reign to beat the mess out of Luffy? No, because I don't think, wait, no, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think that Kaido's gonna beat the best out of Luffy, so yeah, I agree with you. Captain Face says, imagine if King will launch him and Zorro into the castle again, but on the third floor engulfed in flames, King controlling fire while Zorro cuts the fire. Like Spider-Man versus Green Goblin environment. I don't understand. King will launch him and Zorro into the castle again, but on the third floor engulfed in... Oh, that's interesting. I know what you mean. You're talking about from Spider-Man 1, that fight that they had like in the burning building. I don't know if they would do that though, because why did Oda then have King take Zorro outside? Why not just get straight to the third level? Have him knock Zorro straight up to the third level. That's an interesting idea though. Abdel Idrissi says, who do you think will die in Act 3? Killer. Fatingo says, why is Carrot been sidelined? Did Oda get tired of her? Man, it's just hard to... Like, so much depends on... so much depends on the direction that this arc takes, right? Like, if we want to play the game of, like, this is the end of the story, right? If we want to play the game of, like, this is the final battle, then Oda sidelining Carrot, it's hard to say. Maybe she was just never meant to be that important, right? Maybe she was just never meant to be that important, but at the same time, why did Oda kind of push her back into the spotlight during the Onigashima battle and then snatch it away from her? I don't know. I personally prefer to believe that Carrot will continue to be important, and again, that this is not the end of the storyline. But if not, then maybe she just was, maybe her importance was overblown in our minds the entire time. It's hard to say, though, because it doesn't feel that way, right? Bastiano T says, my prediction, what Yamato wants is to freely travel as Oden. Yamato's need will be to protect Wano of her own volition, with Momo as one of its guardian. Yes, I agree. I believe that Yamato's character arc, I don't know as much about Momo, because I think Momo might end up traveling with the Straw Crew. He's one of my picks for joining the Straw Crew. But I definitely believe that Yamato, her character arc, brings her to something that's not her initial like want, which is a very surface level want, which is I want to travel the seas and be exactly like Oden, right? So I imagine that there is some growth that we're set to experience for her that will mean that her final end desire or end realization will be different from what it was at the beginning when we first met her. Real Tony says, if the Strahds defeat Kaido, but afterwards CP0 and the Marines destroy the Strahds, is that considered as a failure? No, I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and argue that as a... It depends on the tone. It depends on the tone of the way things are. I just don't even view that as being the direction things are going. I personally believe that it's losing to the Yonko that matters way more than losing to, you know, the Marines and CP0 and like outside figures. So to me, when I talk about the raid failure, in my mind, it is more so about losing to Kaido, right? Losing to Kaido and getting a reality check in that sense. Krisha Heckman says, do you think King is inspired from Shishio from Rurouni Kenshin? I have not read Rurouni Kenshin, except for like the first chapter. So I don't actually know 100%. Redx says, if the raid is going to fail, then I think Carrot is still going to be important. Yeah, I agreed. Let me see. One thing. AJK says, more, do you think the movie videos will hurt your channel in a sense that the viewers don't care about them? We've come to a point where we watch your videos because it's you and not only for OP. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of positive stuff about the movie channel throughout this, so I appreciate that for sure. But, did I skip over 4 super chats? What are you talking about? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Do I need to open up the super chat tab? I don't think so. Let me see. I'll open up the super chat tab just in case. But yeah, so it's more complicated than that. I mean, and this is not to be. So I think sometimes viewers have a different perception. How do I explain this? Okay, so YouTube algorithm is finicky. So it's considered like this. It's about percentages. Okay. So I understand at this point, and I'm very happy with the fact that a lot of my viewers do watch me for my content rather than specifically watch me because they're interested in what I have to say rather than just what the content itself is. Okay, so I'm very happy about that. But at the same time, that doesn't make up the sum total of my viewers. So even if, let's say, that's 70% of my viewers, okay? So let's say 70% of my viewers will be, let's say on average, okay, in general, 100% of my viewers don't watch each video, right? That's not the case. 100% of my viewers don't watch each video, okay? So, I don't know. In general, let's say like somewhere between 70 to 80% of my viewers watch each of my videos, okay? And then the more clickbaity or more interesting a video is, that percentage gets higher, gets closer to 90%, 100%, whatever. So if I start putting out videos that are not exactly One Piece, yeah, a good portion of my viewers will be interested in watching that just to hear what I have to say on that topic. But it's already taking something like, okay, in the first place, only X% of my viewers will watch one of my One Piece videos. So now you carve that percentage down a little more. It's not like everybody who watches my One Piece videos is going to watch those movie videos. So no matter how you cut it, I could drop a video on a movie video onto this channel and it would probably get 40,000, 50,000, maybe 60, maybe 70,000 views, okay? But no matter how you cut it, it's going to be bringing down the channel averages. And then the YouTube algorithm reads that as basically saying that, okay, people are starting to get less and less interested in this person's videos over time. And then YouTube starts nerfing your views for the future. So YouTube's algorithm is very, very asshole-ish in that it it doesn't have that, it's smart, but it's not that smart. It's hard to explain. It's like really smart, but not that smart. It has no sense of nuance, but it doesn't realize that, okay, if this guy's doing videos of a certain type and videos of another type, that it's just going to look at the average view count and determine that the average view count of this channel is going down, so it's going to recommend the videos less and less. Dom says, weekly tribute to Mortsama. Thank you, Dom. What type of character progression would you like to see for Usopp in Elbaf? What character progression would I like to see for Usopp in Elbaf? It's really, really difficult to say. I think that Yasop obviously is an important part of that. I don't know the direction that, what exactly Yasop will bring out of Usopp, right? I don't know exactly what Yasop will bring out of Usopp, the same way I don't know what Shanks will bring out of Luffy, the same way I don't know 100% what Mihawk will, like, we can all picture what the encounters will be like and maybe what some of the interactions will be like, but in terms of what is that period of character growth going to be like for this character, right? That's a little harder to speculate on. What I would like to see is Usopp actually showing or having some resentment for his father abandoning him as a child. And that's maybe a little weird, but it has also just always struck me as a little weird that Usopp seems to hold his father on a pedestal when his father did really just abandon his wife and son to just die of illness. I mean, I guess he didn't know she was sick, but he just abandoned his wife and his kid, right, to go live a fun life of piracy. I would like to see Usopp not have his father on a pedestal, but I don't know if Oda is going to write it that way necessarily. So I think that'll be an interesting direction, that we come into it expecting Usopp to be very excited to see his father. And I think Usopp right now, from everything we've seen, he is excited to see his father, or he does still hold his father in high regard. I think it would be interesting to see that when Usopp finally does encounter him, and over the course of a few interactions, maybe something that Usopp has been holding back for a while, or like not fully realized, some degree of resentment comes out against his father. I don't know if that's stretching too much or that's getting too far away from Usopp's character and what we know of him, but I think it would be very interesting. Francois says, does W have stakes? W being Wano. So does Wano have stakes? Oda is making everything grander, but none of it reflects consequences for failing or do any action drastically impacts the story. I mean, like, this is something that I've harped on over and over. This is why I believe that the raid failing matters. It's not just One Piece story structure, it's story structure in general. You don't want to write an arc where, you don't want to write a story where there's just no significant low point for the protagonists. And that is essentially what Wano has been so far, because the protagonists, and this is where people get dicey, because people will be like, well, the protagonists are the Scabbards, the protagonists are the Straw Hats. You can't have it both ways. If the Straw Hats are the ones who are ultimately resolving the arc's conflict, and they're the ones taking the spotlight at the climax of the arc, then they were essentially the protagonists of the arc, right? And they were absent for the entire build-up phase of the arc. So, either this is the period where they're supposed to experience a failure and get their dramatic moment, or Oda essentially wrote an arc with little to no involvement from the protagonists, with zero sort of point of significant conflict or failure or low point or sense of loss or struggle that they need to come back from, and he just slipped them into the point where they succeed, okay? So I don't believe that Oda would write a story like that. That would just go against not even just like basic narrative structure, like pure basic narrative structure. It would go against the way Oda consistently writes One Piece arcs. So that's why I'm still holding out that I think that there's a point that the Straw Hats are set to actually lose, because They have not struggled in any way whatsoever for the entirety of Act 1 and Act 2. They're essentially being written to show up for the final battle and get their wins. That's not the way Oda ever writes an arc, and that's not the way I think you could give it to, you could have asked a 12-year-old to write Wano, and they would have had the Straw Hats struggle in some way partway through the arc. So, I'm holding out hope. Keenan says, off topic, was just thinking, if One Piece was actually only supposed to be 5 years, how would that look? 1 year for East Blue and 1 year for each Yonko. What does a 5-year One Piece story even look like? Yeah, man, it's hard to say. Okay, so Oda's always said that the Shichibukai are what really, really expanded the story, right? So I do think certain things were always going to happen. I think that there was always going to be a Marineford war partway through. That's hard to say, though. How is that? So the Shichibukai expanded the story, right? I think what Oda means by that, it's not just the Shichibukai themselves. I think it's more so that, because maybe the story was always about getting to the 4 Yonko, so Oda could have written it such that, yeah, East Blue is the prologue, and then the story is getting to the Grand Line where there are these 4 emperors that you have to take down. And maybe what Oda saw the opportunity to do was basically wait longer to get to those 4 emperors, so spend more time building them up, spend more time building up the scale of what taking those guys down means, and in the process start creating a much larger, more expansive narrative and lore, right? And that became what we call, I guess, the Paradise section of the story. So the Shichibukai essentially became sort of placeholder forces that occupied this section of the Grand Line, right? So Crocodile, Moria, CP9 obviously doesn't count, but the sense of like intermediary villains before getting to the 4 emperors, right? So that's my guess at it, that, you know, maybe Oda just had this idea in mind of like East Blue's a prologue, and then the story is taking on the 4 emperors in the world government, and then at some point he had this realization that, no, it makes more sense to gradually build up this idea of the 4 pirate emperors, what the One Piece really means, the conflict of the full world, how bad the world government really is, just ease the reader into that bit by bit, and you have these pirates, the Shichibukai, that can be the main forces of the first half Paradise section of the Grand Line. I think that might have been, you know, if I had to guess. Quiet Life says, if the raid fails, will you wear Kaido cosplay for the celebration stream? No, that's... Listen, for me, cosplay is punishment. I don't cosplay. That's just not a thing that I'm interested in ever doing, alright? I'm not a cosplayer. So if the raid fails, I'm not going to celebrate by doing something that I don't want to do. Isaiah Davis, thanks a lot. Usopp will be too shy to meet his father face to face for the first time. Sogeking will return. I don't know. Okay, what do you guys think? You think we're getting Sogeking back? Who thinks we're getting Sogeking back in the story? How am I missing super chats? I'm literally on the super chat tab. What am I missing? Leo Recto says, what's your favorite anime main character squad other than the Straw Hats? Thanks, Phantom Greenfire. Favorite anime main character squad other than the Straw Hats? Ooh, that's a good question. That's a great question. Great question. Oh, no, easy. And you guys will make fun of me for this, but it is the case. The Black Bulls from Black Clover. I'm a secret big Black Clover fan. Because I have very low expectations for it. Because I came into it with such low expectations, and I found myself enjoying, like, the things that I see people attack Black Clover for, it's funny to me because it's just like, it's obviously not a series that, like, people are like, well, it fakes character deaths and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hold One Piece accountable for faking character deaths, but it's fucking Black Clover. Like, I don't I don't expect those characters to die, you know? It's just, I just don't expect that to happen. The things that I actually value Black Clover for doing is having a clear idea. It has a lot of characters, and 1, the fights are entertaining and such, but 2, it has a clear idea of how it wants to do character arcs for almost every character. And that's very, very, like, there's actually you can make fun of Black Clover for so many things, but one thing that's very simple and satisfying that it does is that it doesn't forget about characters, and it follows proper narrative structure, right? It doesn't forget about characters. So it has character arcs in mind for nearly every single character. And it's got a huge cast of characters, and that's very, very difficult to do. That's something that I used to think that One Piece did really well, but like, if you compare Black Clover's current arc, and this is hilarious that I'm even comparing Black Clover to One Piece, but it's a fact. Black Clover's current current arc, it's similar to One Piece's current arc in many ways. It's like a raid it's a big raid to take down some hyped up villains. The difference is that Black Clover has actually set up character arcs for most of the characters for like some while now, and it's actually delivering on a lot of storylines that have been set up for a lot of the characters so far. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest and say that like, as shitty of a series as Black Clover is made out to be, you can look at it and be like, factually, that author is doing way more for his cast, the Black Bulls, those guys, whatever, than Oda has been doing for the Strahds throughout Wano, because the Strahds didn't exist in Wano. Like, there was nothing for them to do for most of Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano. Like, they're just getting the fights, whereas in something like Black Clover, which is made fun of so much because it's easy to make fun of, what you're forgetting is that the author did actually write character arcs for the characters that culminated in fights, right? Which is a very, very distinct difference. I think Black Clover is just easy to make fun of because it does all of the, like, it doesn't break the shonen formula in any, like, it doesn't do anything special whatsoever. Like, it really doesn't, but it does the fundamental stuff that you want from a shonen right. And that's literally all I can ask for. That's literally all I can ask for. There's no other series that's doing the basic stuff right as consistently as Black Clover. Does that make sense? Kyle Gebhardt says, in your Green Bolt here, you talked about King being a source of trauma for Zorro. Any thoughts on the tattoo that Zorro noticed on his face? No, that was debunked. That was wrong. That was basically... I don't want to explain how I got that wrong. Let's just say it was like a very fast skim of the chapter without checking, like, properly reading the translations, right? I was in a hurry to write that video, so that part of it was not good. I don't think King caused any past trauma to Zorro. I was very embarrassed to see people calling that out, being like, hey, Morge, that's literally not at all what was said. And I went back and read the chapter and I was like, fuck. I was just in a hurry to get that video out because the rumblings had already started about, you know, what if Green Bull, like, people had already started talking about, like, Green Bull Zorro, Shimotsuki Ryuma, Shimotsuki Past, etc., right? So the rumblings had already started, so I was in kind of a state of like, well, I've wanted to talk about this since like 2 chapters ago. So now that I think other people are mentioning it a little bit, I feel like I have to get it out, right? I have to like write it really fast. So that chapter with the, you know, first Zorro King confrontation, with Zorro's swords being flipped in the air or whatever, like, I was basically skimming that, cranking out the chapter review, and then like just finishing the script ASAP. So that was really bad, but I think the rest of that video is still valid for the most part. That's definitely a more out there video, but I think it's a really interesting theory. Cigar Verk says, will we see a rant video if Raid succeeds? I don't know how I'll react. I like to think that I don't know how I'll react. I like to think that I won't do a rant video because I would appreciate if I think that in the hypothetical sense of, you know, if the raid fails, then I probably would try to refrain from doing a rant video because it's more of an opportunity. It would be a better opportunity to, you know, get more people interested in the channel rather than like giving a rant, like an aggressive rant that would turn people away. Obviously, that's in the hypothetical of if the raid fails. In the other scenario, if where it doesn't fail, I will probably be doing a full-on apology/acknowledgement video for having pushed that agenda for so long. But at the same time, I will have a lot of things to say about Wano in that case, because if this is the final battle, then there's a lot has gone wrong. But I will keep that separate from my apology on the raid failing, which I have to do on its own. Isaiah Davis says, Usopp will be 2 shot. No, we covered that. People are saying I'm missing Superchats. What Superchats am I missing? Because I see them all here, right? I got Cigar, I got Kyle. Who am I missing at this point? No, Black Clover is very easy to make fun of. Black Clover is very... When people are like, should I give it another chance? If you don't, like... you literally just have to accept that it's not a deep series in any sense, but it does do the emotional character stuff, emotional, heartwarming character stuff well, and it does do the hype shonen stuff well. Okay, so those are the two things. It does not have bold storytelling decisions, and it does not bold storytelling decisions, and it does not have what's the other thing? Like particularly interesting or deep thematic discussions. Okay, all right, catching up on super chats now. Okay, yeah, like the Noel fight that just happened. All right, you can't, if you read the Noel fight that just happened and compare it to any of the fights that the Strahds have had, the only Strahd fight that had like a trace of like important character stuff going on was Robin. But if you compare that to the Noel fight, like it's just so like it's not even comparable. The Noel fight was the conclusion to the storyline that she started with from the beginning of her character, and basically the culmination of all of the growth that she's undergone as a character up to this point. Like there was a lot of history and development and steps that got Noelle to the point that she's at, whereas all the Strahd fights have been like that, like, not to mention the Strahds have done nothing in Wano before this, so if even the fights are being like sped through, it's just like, I don't know, man. I'm hoping that this is not the end of Wano. That's my hope. Alright? The raid, in my mind, if it doesn't fail, then this is just like, Wano would be a very disappointing arc for me. Keiju says, dude, you're really highly underrated in terms of your quality of your content. Thanks a lot. I'm expecting your second channel to surpass your main. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I do think that the second channel will surpass the main, just because like randoms, like the Marvel video that I did a little bit ago, 2 weeks ago at this point, that hit 100K really fast. Okay, there's just a bigger audience out there. The problem is that there's more competition, there's more film channels out there, but like it's a much bigger pie, and the thing is like you can be subscribed to multiple film channels, so it's not like a business in the sense that, you know, usually if you're getting your haircut from one place, you're going to regularly go to that place. So it's not like a cutthroat situation. So people, the same way people who are subscribed to me can be subscribed to Brago, O'Hara, Grandland, etc. It's not that bad getting into a very saturated niche like film analysis, because there's just so much discussion to go around. I do think that channel will surpass the main channel. The growth has been faster so far, obviously. I also know a lot more. But at the same time, it's going to be a long while. I don't think that channel will hit 100K subs for, I don't know, it's hard to say, because I did get to 10K faster than I thought. I did get to 10K faster than I thought, but at the same time, that was, not every video is going to do as well as the Marvel video. Let's see. Let's see how the Squid Game video does. That'll give me a better idea. Ludwig Stapner says, I understand your argument with the raid failing and the Strahds losing, but wouldn't Kaido just kill them off? What I'm asking is, what you suppose would happen when and if it fails? So, assuming that the failing coincides with Onigashima coming down, then suddenly there would be a lot of escape routes available for a lot of Strahds. I also put out a video saying that I expect I expect Usopp to be captured, for example. So, I don't think all the Strahds get away necessarily. Darkwan Jr. says, Mihawk, Shanks, or Yasop, who dies before meeting again? I don't think any of them die before meeting again. I think they all make it to see the Strahds. Dom says, Jinbei cosplay and Bollywood dance if the raid doesn't fail. No, I'm not promising anything if the raid doesn't fail. I'll already be at such a low point, you guys don't want to drag me through the dirt any further. AJ says, Mort seems like he set himself up on the raid hill and is inventing reasons in his head why any other option would be bad. The Strahds have absolutely suffered setbacks from Wano. Okay, so maybe these things aren't the best to discuss in a stream setup, but no, the Strahds have not suffered setbacks in Wano. The Strahds were largely absent for Act 1 and Act 2 for Wano. Like, that's just a fact. Like, like a simple, like, let's put it this way. Frankie, right? The Frankie fight that he had. A simple game you can play, right? How far back do you think Frankie could have, like, let's say you wrote Frankie out of the story, right? And then just airdropped him into the fight that he had in Wano. How far back do you think you could have airdropped Frankie from with nothing changing? Okay? So, if you take Frankie out of Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano, for his character, I'm not talking about, like, little plot nitty-gritty things like, oh, well, they're a little more confused about the blueprints, right? I'm saying, like, for Frankie's character, from the fight that he just got, how far back do you think we could have gone of Frankie just not having been in the story and then just dropping him into the fight to fight Sasaki and nothing changing for his character? Is it Dressrosa? Is it Punk Hazard? Maybe it's literally Punk Hazard, because that's the first time Frankie hears that they're going to be fighting against Kaido. I think you could literally take Frankie from Punk Hazard, skip the rest of the next few hundred chapters, including Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano, have dropped Frankie into the Sasaki fight, and it plays out exactly the same way. There's nothing that's happened for his character whatsoever in Act 1 or Act 2 of Wano. There's no setback that he suffered. Same thing for a Chopper, same thing for a Nami, same thing for an Usopp. They're not, I don't know what the setback you're talking about is. What is this low point that they experienced? Even seeing Luffy lose, that wasn't a setback for Luffy, because Luffy was exactly back in the same state that he was before as soon as he lost in Act 1. And it wasn't a setback for the Strats because it did not affect them negatively in any way. That's very, very, very different from previous storylines, for example, Luffy versus Crocodile in the desert, right? Luffy versus Crocodile in the desert marked a sharp shift in tone and attitude and mentality for the Strats in terms of what they need to do, the stakes, etc. Okay? You can go throughout the series and there's a clear difference between like what an actual low point for the crew is versus a story arc with no struggles, which is what Wano has been. Wano has been essentially a storyline where the Strats experience nothing and they end up getting their fights with little to no storyline or build-up or dramatic investment for them. They get their fights and win, and now they're waiting on Luffy to win. It's not a story. Literally, they haven't experienced a story. And you can say that, you know, I'm like speaking too broadly or something like that, and you can give your little reasons. And that's why I think I'm going to save deeper discussions on this for, you know, video topics where I can actually break down for you panel for panel, comparison for comparison, arc to arc, how this is markedly different from how Oda does storytelling normally. So we can save that and wait for that, but like, again, just think about Frankie. Think about the airdrop argument. How much changes if you take Frankie from Punk Hazard and then just drop him in the Sasaki fight? What's different? What interaction in that fight goes differently? What bit of character growth did he experience in that fight? What bit of character growth is he missing from Wano if you pick him up from Punk Hazard and drop him in where he is right now? Nothing. Literally nothing. And that's really bad. So I really hope that the raid fails because it's important and practically necessary for the Wano arc to be an actual storyline. DZA the Ghost says the ships wouldn't have been built. I think you're not realizing. Dressrosa, Senor Pink, I think you're not realizing. I'm talking about for Frankie's character, so not plot points. Senor Pink, that was interesting for Senor Pink. How is Frankie's character different? What has he missed out on experiencing, right? What is fundamentally different for Frankie's character? What is the struggle that he experienced, the growth that he experienced during this period of time? What is different about his mentality? Nothing. The ship's being built as a plot point. The plot point technically doesn't happen. Versus, you know, if you go to pre-time skip, yet Frankie at the beginning of Water 7 versus the end of Enies Lobby, very different, okay? But you can do that for any character. Nico Robin, Alabasta versus Nico Robin Thriller Bark, very different. Nami, beginning of Jaya to end of Skypiea, very different. Chopper, beginning of Skypiea to the end of Skypiea, very different. There's such a thing as character arcs that regularly happen for the Straw Hats. Zorro from the beginning of One Piece to the end of Thriller Bark, very different. Like, who he has as a character has fundamentally changed. Zorro before Baratier to Zorro at the end of Arlong Park. Like, these, do you guys really not get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not talking about little plot points like, well, the ships wouldn't have been built. That's not an argument. That's not, like, that's just something that happened in the plot. I'm talking about the character. The story that the character experienced. Because for Frankie, the story is, it's literally the same. Take him from Punk Hazard, have him fight Sasaki. What has he missed out on? There's nothing that he's missed out on as a character, right? Like, his character is not fundamentally changed or grown or developed in any way. There's no story that he's missing out on experiencing. Cigar Ferg says, will we see a YouTube drama between Liam and you because of the raid failure disagreement and eventual boxing match? Me and Liam? What? First of all, most YouTubers disagree with me and, most YouTubers disagree with me on the raid failing. But, like, Liam and I think Grand Line Review and I are friends. Has he expressed something? He's commented on my videos a couple times and been like, hey, is this you saying that the raid's gonna fail? Or not gonna fail? But like, I don't think it's anything serious. John K says, off Wano, do you think Kureha slash Hero Look and Drum's world famous doctors will be connected in MADS? I don't know if, no, I think that that's maybe a little too exclusive for Kureha to be a part of, but at the same time, Kureha is really old. She does seem to know some stuff that, like, is a little more obscure than others. Gabe C says, hey, More, just want to say I love your How Oda Writes video. Very well done and thought-provoking. I'm not a plant, by the way. Thanks, Gabe C. I think that's my best video to date, personally. I do think that's my best video to date. Ari Carranza says, Frankie learned the suplex he used against Sasaki and Dressrosa. He did learn the suplex. That's true. If that's your metric for it, then that's very true. PMS says, BDA lost here. Why does Morge hate Frankie but love Zorro even with his dark past? So, Frog, are you on your Zorro is a racist trade? Are we bringing that into here? I thought that was hilarious. Because, like, when that started going around on Twitter, that Zorro's a racist, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then people kept pulling up examples. It actually started to get, like, a little shocking because, first you see, like people throwing out, hey, remember Mr. 1, remember this Fishman, remember Mr. 5, right? And it's like, that's pretty funny. There's a bit of a trend, and then it keeps stacking. It keeps coming. Like, holy shit! Like, it's all of Zorro's opponents. So it's just a low key racist. It's just a racist. All right, let me refresh these super chats. All right, I'm sure you guys are going to inform me if I've missed some, but I think I'm good. Jinbei cosplay, no, we covered that. You think Kobe will kill Luffy at the end of One Piece, says Paul. No, I don't think Kobe will kill Luffy. Gio Francois says Zoro's main character in Wano before Luffy showed up and had the most interactions with the people, like intimate connections. None of the crew has gone through that. Exactly. And Zoro's the only character you could argue has. So there's like basic levels to this, right? So one is the character just doing things, period. So Zorro is the only character who has at least done things, period, and gained some level of investment from what we've seen between Act 1 and Act 2. Zorro's the only character. Luffy as well. I don't count Luffy when I say this stuff, okay? Among the Straws, Zorro's the only character that we really saw gains, like, have some sort of a storyline. Storyline is not the same as having, as technically appearing and doing things, right? Like, Brook haunting the grave is not a storyline. That's just a thing that he's doing, okay? That's not a storyline, all right? Sanji cooking food, cooking soba is not a storyline, right? So Zoro's the only character that had a bit of a storyline, all right? The only character that had a bit of a storyline, he got invested in what Yasue showed him. Hiyori told him a little bit more. The death of Yasue did affect Zorro, so Zorro is the most emotionally affected from anything that we saw out of any of the Straws from Act 1 and Act 2. What does that translate to? Right? So that's the basic level that you want, right? Basic level of writing that you want, which is get the character invested in something, right? Get the character invested in the story. Then the next step is the arc. What is the story the character is going to undergo through this, right? What is the transformation? What is the realization? What is the growth, right? And that is not the same as pulling out stronger attacks. Pulling out stronger attacks is not a character arc. It is almost irrelevant to a character arc unless it's something like really, really closely tied to, like, Conqueror's Haki's tied to your character's strength of spirit, stuff like that, right? But at the same time, like, you want the character steps to get there before you get that payoff of that power-up, okay? So, I mean, Zorro, he does have that setup in that, he's touching into his Conqueror's Haki and such, so let's see his character get to a point where those two things come together and maybe he's using Conqueror's Haki more consciously or more effectively or more, on command, right? But still, what's the storyline for Zorro here? What is the point? Like, we're getting all these things. He's invested in the Wano storyline because of Orochi. He's the lost son of Wano, Shimotsuki descendant, possible descendant of Ryuma, right? He's picked up Oden's sword. He has, he's developing some degree of Conqueror's Haki, or consciously or unconsciously, he's tapping into it. So what is this all coming together for his character, okay? Just beating King means nothing for his character. It means that basically all of that was just stuff, okay? A story is when all that comes together to have a point, a purpose for the character, a transformation, okay? That's what's missing. With Zorro, he's the only character who has the basic groundwork out of the strats for something like that to happen. All the other strats did nothing for Act 1 and 2. They had plot points like, Nami was spying with Shinobu. That's a plot point, but that's not a story. Like, I think I've harped on the same point over and over again, but I think you guys get it at this point. Trevor Roberts says, should every fight involve character growth? I don't think so. And I don't even think that every Straw Hat needs to necessarily grow over the course of an arc. I think you can have plenty of fights that are just cool fights. Like, I don't think Sanji versus Mr. 2 involved a lot of character growth. I think Sanji in general does not have a lot of character growth from the start of the series, but that's partly because his character is a character that's, his purpose is a little bit more so to prove that a set of ideals, it's sticking to a set of ideals and sticking to a code actually has value. So Sanji's a little different. But in general, I think, I don't think Zorro versus Pika involved character growth in any sense. It did force Zorro to use his brain a little bit more, but that's about it. I think that there's plenty, like Frankie versus Senor Pink, I don't think involves character growth. I think you can have plenty of fights that don't involve character growth. I'm not blaming the fights for not having character growth. I'm saying the story in general, and we're getting to a point, right? Like, we've gotten through all of Wano. The Straw Hats none of the Straw Hats have experienced anything except for Luffy a little bit and Zoro a little bit. We're getting down to the point where, okay, were these the final fights? Because that's like the last chance to have some degree of character growth. The only character that really had something going on in her fight was Nico Robin. And I really like Robin's fight, so credit where credit's due. Anime Devil Hunter says, will Sanji or another Straw Hat get Conqueror's Haki? Yeah, I think Usopp will by the end of the story. Also, as for the raid failing, someone said, I don't see the raid failing, the ship has sailed. Guys, Act 3 hasn't ended yet. Why are people abandoning the raid failing idea? I'm going to abandon the raid failing idea when I see the words Act 3 end. Alright? That's it. If I see the words Act 3 end, that's it. But at the moment, we're still in the middle of the act where bad stuff is supposed to happen. So, I don't know why people are jumping ship. Will Sanji be an admiral level by end of story? Yep, I think so. Angel says, might have missed it. What do you think Zorro being racist tweet with the evidence? No, I just talked about it a little bit. I think that it's funny. I think it's funny. It's obviously not true. It's just funny. Andrew says the raid will fail because why make a big deal of warlords being discontinued when there's a Yonko alliance? Also, the backstory of the Rocks Pirates is foreshadowing of Yonko alliances. More Kaido. I'm on board, Andrew. Not necessarily for all the reasons you listed, but I'm on board. I think so. Cigar Verk says, I guess most of Straw Hat character development was done by time skip. I don't even think that's true. But then, if that's true, the characters still, in my mind, the characters still clearly have a lot to grow, right? And if Usopp, you can just go back to Dressrosa and see a solid character arc for him. Sanji, I think, had a solid character arc. Sanji was interesting because a lot of it was reaffirming his own validation of his own beliefs and way of living, but it was a character arc essentially because it was finally testing all of his chivalry and code, etc., to a degree previously unseen before. So I don't think that's necessarily the case. And then secondly, if it is the case, then we're just not reading. Why are we reading One Piece? If you actually believe that the Straw Hat character arcs are done by the time skip, then we're not reading. Are we just reading a story with a lot of world building and lore, and then just fights? Because then there's a million other series that I would rather read. Then why are we reading One Piece? James Halder says bone in or boneless. Only one right answer. No, you're talking about chicken, right? Yeah, bone. You always want bone. Meat off the bone tastes way better. That's just, it's like not even, it's just factually true. If you need boneless food, you're a baby. You're like a fucking child. Like, the bone in my, no, you're a fucking baby. You eat meat off the bone. That's the way meat, that's the way you eat it, right? Who, it actually makes me angry that this is even a discussion. Nintendo Power says, just tuned in. If you haven't, explain how you still think the raid could fail at this stage without the loss of setting Oda's time frame back from when he said he wants to end the story. I give zero credit to when Oda says he wants to end the story, because I think they literally just came out again with saying 5 years. You know how long it takes for, like, it's been 2 years since he said 5 years last time. And he said 5 years again. What about chicken nuggets? Oh, no, chicken nuggets are different. That's like, that's not boneless. Chicken nuggets are different. If I get like a fried chicken sandwich, then obviously I don't want a bone in it. That's weird. But that's like, that's just different. Different category, okay? Different category. It's like, when I think bones versus boneless, I'm like wings. That's what my mind goes to. You want boneless wings or wings with a bone in them? If you pick boneless wings, you are a fucking soy boy, low T, like baby teeth, little kid. What is, you need your mommy to like pick out the boat? What's wrong with you? Don't even, it's embarrassing to even ask that question. Yeah, look at how Luffy eats. Look at how Luffy eats. Do you think Luffy's going to Sanji and being like, oh, Sanji, could you take out the bones for me this time? No, that's so fucking, Sanji would yell at him for wasting food. Nintendo Power says boneless wings are just nuggets with sauce on them. No, it's different. It's just different. I reject that explanation. Morge being mean as fuck. Yeah, because you guys got me in a bad mood. Because you made me talk about the things that I'm worried, like, the things that, like, I obviously believe the raid will fail. But you guys made me talk about the possibility of it not failing and what that would mean for One Piece. And that obviously got me in a bad mood. Because I'm like, well, then we're just reading a fucking shitty arc. Sean Easton says, once she catches up, would you be down to do a stream with Murphy Nadler? I don't think that's her name, but I know who you're talking about. You two are on the same wavelength, so it would be quality. I mean, if she wants, I don't know, because I've just generally not done. What do I get out of it? That's the thing, because I've generally just not done streams. Well, how many subs does she have? All right, it's loading too slow. Someone tell me how many subs she has. If she has a lot of subs, then of course I'm gonna do it. But at this point, like, I'm not doing too many collabs with people in general just because of time. You know what I mean? Just because I'm kind of more in my own space at the moment. I did do the stream with Joy Girl recently, but that's because Joy Girl was very nice and like she scheduled it out like a month beforehand. It was like, can you do this day on break week? And then I think I even said no because I was going on vacation that week. So then she changed it and was like, can you do this day? So it was very nicely scheduled. And on top of that, like, especially if you're a smaller One Piece YouTuber, then I'm more, I think like the previous stream I did before collab stream I did before Joy Girl was with Silvers. So I think anyone, if you're like a smaller One Piece YouTuber, that I want to do it because it's just like, I don't know, it's just, it feels helpful, right? I know I appreciated it back when like O'Hara and I were small and we were doing the Wano reports and we're like, hey Tekking, we know we only have like 20k subs between us, but you want to come onto our Wano report? And Tekking did it. I think he did it like twice. I think. I'm not 100% sure. But, you know, I always appreciate that. Magnum Opus says, hey, I love Boneless. I'm sorry, Magnum Opus. You are a little baby boy. Patrick Malone says, I want Kazara's death to be him flipping double birds and shouting E equals MC squared, motherfuckers, and then self-destructing into a super nuke flight. What? That's... Yeah, no. So it's two ways. So if she's got a lot of subs, then yes, because then I get a direct benefit. Or if you're in the One Piece community and you've got very few subs, then yes, because then like I just feel like I kind of you kind of got to give it back, because that's what bigger YouTubers did with me when I was small. Make sense? Fire King Juice is more just a cloud demon. Listen, like, while what else do I get? Like, what else would I get out of doing it? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, try and understand from my perspective. If it's a booktuber with, let's say, 50K subs, right, who have never talked to or met before, and you're like, hey, do you want to do a collab with them? Think about it, put yourself in my shoes. What you're basically saying is like, hey, do you want to talk to a stranger about One Piece for like an hour just to do it? You're not like friends or anything, you don't know the person, you just want to talk to a stranger on video call about One Piece for an hour? It's just like, why? Like, what? Why? You know? It's just like, why? Why? And they're like, well, listen, they read books. It's like, okay, cool. That changes everything. They read books. I gotta talk to this person. They gotta get on a video call with this person right away. So yeah, that's basically it. It's either for clout, or you're actually friends. Like, obviously, like, yeah, obviously, well, Ohara's a really big YouTuber now, so I guess you don't call it that. But like, obviously when Ohara and I are the same size, I'm gonna do a collab with them. Most like One Piece YouTubers at this point I've interacted with enough that like I'm friendly. So like, yeah, I'll do it because we're friendly. Or especially if you're a smaller new YouTuber and I don't know you that well, I'll still do it because that's like kind of giving back. And then, if you're a really big YouTuber, then you get clout out of it. But then, like, if you're like a total stranger and I've never met you before, then I probably don't feel like doing it as much, Luke Cotton says, will Luffy need Gear 5 to defeat Wano? I personally think so. Messan says yes, because talking about One Piece is fun. Okay. You guys are just a little bit... Ty says, I mean it is promotion. Yeah, so I do it for the cloud. So understand my headspace, which is, for you guys, it's like, oh, it'll be fun talking about One Piece. Sure, I'll talk about One Piece with a stranger. For me, do you know what I basically do, for a living at this point? I talk about One Piece all the time. All the time. I talk about One Piece all the time. I'm talking to you about One Piece right now. Most of my streams these days are 2 or 3 hours. So once a week, I schedule time to talk about One Piece for 2 to 3 hours. I write videos on One Piece and then record those. So I spend days talking about One Piece. I do a chapter review every week talking about One Piece. I talk about One Piece all the time. I promise you I'm not like in need of more One Piece discussion in my life. I used to be big on Reddit, right? I used to be big on Reddit because, what do you call? I really, like, big on Reddit as in, like, I was on Reddit a lot because I really wanted to get out a lot of my One Piece thoughts. Once I started doing the channel and was regularly doing videos on the channel, suddenly I didn't feel like being on Reddit as much because you're already talking about One Piece so much. Amari Aberdaman says, what you do is work out of YouTube. I basically do a marketing small business outside of YouTube. At the moment, it's a little tricky in that, like, it's hard to explain because right now, where I'm at, like, I don't want to get too much into, like, specifics, basically. Doesn't matter. You guys don't worry about it, alright? Super Frankie 7 says, why Shanks gave up his arm? Strahd takes sacrifices. I guess you answered your own question to a degree. Shanks betted on the New Age. It's exactly what he told Whitebeard. He betted on the New Age. I think in retro, like, the idea of Shanks giving up his arm for Luffy, great way to start the series. I think in retrospect, the only thing Oda might be regretting is that it was a Sea King that took off the arm and not, like, like a top tier fighter. But we let it slide because it's the meaning of it that matters more. Like Queen Ab died from falling down the stairs. We let it slide. William Xavier says, why is the raid failing the only way to get the type of character growth you're looking for? Also thoughts on Ace's death being the hopeless moment for all parts. So I think I see what you're saying. Well, it's also partly because we're towards the end of the. So there was definitely a segment, right, throughout Onigashima, early parts of Onigashima, early parts of Act 3, where I was like, okay, even if the raid fit, like, here's the thing. What I don't like about the raid, how do I say this? So going into Act 3, I was obviously very pro raid failing and stuff, and already giving the same reasons, which is like, well, you need struggle and everything like that for the characters to come back from, to have their growth, to have this act, and in my mind, they need to lose here to get a lot of this character stuff, along with a million other reasons, right? But we're talking in the context, framework of this, all right? We're talking purely about my reasoning based on the character stuff, right? That the raid needs to fail so that the Straws can get, like, you can actually get some character drama going for the arc, okay? I did think that a long-running counterpoint to this was that, well, what if we just get all that during the Onigashima battle, and it's just a long battle, and Oda covers all that? So I was like, yes, that makes sense. The more the Onigashima battles progress, it's been clear that that's not the case, right? So the Strats have done their, like, Jinbei versus Who's Who. It was literally just Who's Who explaining what the Sun God was, right? And that was basically, if this is the final battle, which you understand I'm saying I don't think it is because I'm still waiting on that character stuff, but like that's a prime example. Frankie versus Sasaki, prime example. Nami versus Ulti, which wasn't even a fight, prime example. Like, it's like what people were saying before, which is that like, no, we all understand that character stuff is important. We'll probably get that during Onigashima and during the fights. Now we're even past that, right? Like, we're done with the Tobiropo fights, unless, again, as I believe, the Tobiropo are not yet done. But in theory, for most people, we're done with the Tobiropo fights. So, so that stuff that people were saying before in opposition to the raid failing, that doesn't even hold up anymore. But now people are just trying to hand wave it away and be like, the character stuff doesn't even matter anymore. I'm actually in shock because I'm like, no, you should be caring about this. You should be caring that, like, if you think this is the final battle, then that means you are satisfied with Wano being the biggest arc and at the same time most empty arc in terms of actual storytelling substance for the characters that matter. And please do not talk to me about the Scabbards because you are a goddamn liar if you are telling me that you believe that the Scabbards are one. If you are telling me that you genuinely believe that the Scabbards are like the most emotionally compelling side characters in the history of One Piece, if you're telling me that the Scabbards, like, you feel more strongly for the Scabbards than you did for like Vivi back in Alabasta, or like even the characters in Dressrosa, here's the reality of it: Scabbards are not popular characters, right? That's not a defense. The Scabbards are not popular characters. Nobody is shedding it. I don't believe you if you tell me you shed a tear when Ashura Doji died. Okay, like that's just a fact. I like Kinemon quite a bit. I like the Scabbards as a group, but if you're trying to tell me that, well, Oda put the emotional weight of the story in the Scabbards' hands, one, that's not how the storytelling works because it's the Straw Hats who are actually carrying out the climax and finale of the story, and two, most of you aren't even that affected by the Scabbards. Popularity polls exist. You can see that the Scabbards are not popular or loved characters at all in general. Trevor Roberts says, do you think the Wano arc is too long? No, length doesn't bother me in terms of the arcs. I would rather it be longer and get everything it needs done than it be rushed. No. People can like the Scabbards. I get what people are saying, like the Scabbards. But, like, are you telling me that it's going to go in your top 10 saddest One Piece moments, like Kiku's death or, like, Ashura Doji's death? That's just not true. Like, that... like, Shinho Wong says ulti more famous than the Scabbards. Okay, if you like the Scabbards so much, then tell me this. Why is it that when Yamato was introduced, first chapter of Yamato's introduction, from Yamato's first chapter of introduction when she took off her mask and revealed what she looked like, Yamato was instantly more popular than all of the 9 Scabbards. Who do you think is more popular, Yamato or the 9 Scabbards? And, like, be honest. Who do you think is more popular, Ulti or the 9 Scabbards? Like, it's just not... You can like the Scabbards. I like the Scabbards. But pretending that Oda, like really succeeded in, like, capturing the emotional drama and tragedy of Wano through the Scabbards is just not true. Because he could throw in a random character like Yamato and people be like, fuck the Scabbards. Yamato's the coolest character in this arc. It's like, come on, dude. Because boobs, side boobs. Yeah, exactly. Goes to show. Birdbone says, hello, Morge. Your analysis on both channels have helped me in school recently. That's really good to hear. I like hearing that. I've learned to articulate my thoughts better from listening to you. Thanks. Birdbones, thank you very much. I appreciate it. CC Rapalini says, I don't even remember Scabbards' names. I mean, that's a little far, but like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I like grabbed a random Wano fan off the streets and was like, hey, name all 9 Scabbards right now. Name all 10 Scabbards, right? You gotta include Izo, right? I guarantee some of you would forget some. That's just it. Bo Scotty says, but Oden is extremely popular. Yeah, I mean, I think, okay, I think Oden, okay, you guys have pushed me into a negative space here, but let me talk about the things I like. I personally like Kinemon a lot as a character. I like Kinemon a lot as a character. I like Momonosuke a lot as a character. I'm addressing the majority of people where I'm saying, like, let's not pretend, like, I'm addressing the majority of people who are arguing things like, no, there's been really good character stuff in Wano so far. I'm like, well, the 9 Scabbards, why do you like Yamato better than the 9 Scabbards then? And not just Yamato now, you all like Yamato. Most people like Yamato better than the 9 Scabbards from her introduction. Okay, so I don't think it's a fair argument to say that Oda really knocked it out of the park with the Scabbard storytelling. I like Kinemon quite a bit, but let's not pretend that, like, the readership is, like, falling over themselves for the Scabbards, or that these will be the highlighted, remembered moments, or, like, favorite characters coming out of Wano. The reality is that's not the case, okay? So I like Kinemon a lot. I love Oden, especially mainly because of the way Oden's story ended and the full understanding of his character. But that's nothing new. You expect that backstory character to be really impactful. You expect a Saul, you expect a Hero Look, you expect a Bellemere, etc. Right? Corazon. That's great. I think Oden was great. What about the characters we're working with today? Because Oden's story was just Oden's story. And that's the big thing. That's actually, it's good you brought up Oden, because that's the big, big missing piece. Oden's backstory was really mainly about Oden. Whereas usually, these backstories like a Bellemere, like a Hero Look, like a Corazon, those are backstories that are serving to show the connection between the present day characters and the past character. And really, it's more of a backstory for the present day character, right? Like, we call it Chopper's backstory, not Hero Look's backstory. We call it Law's backstory, not Corazon's backstory. Oden's backstory, we call Oden's backstory. We don't call it the Scabbard's backstory. And that's the big missing piece. You guys get what I'm saying? The Scabbards were essentially side props from most of Oden's backstory. They featured very little in Oden's backstory. So usually what those really powerful, emotionally gut-wrenching backstories do, yes, they connect us to a past character, but they help us understand and feel more for the modern day character that is actually the main character or main catalyst in the story that we're following today, right? So again, Chopper's backstory, Robin's backstory, Nami's backstory, Law's backstory, all these backstories, like Rebecca's backstory, any backstory that you want to go through throughout the series that's really emotionally affecting, you view it as that character's backstory. Oden's backstory is the first backstory where it's like, this isn't the Scabbard's backstory, it's really just Oden's backstory. And that goes to why the Scabbards are probably not as, like, emotionally affecting or riveting characters for a lot of us as you would expect them to have been in past arcs. Andrew says people only like, wait, fuck, I missed it. Andrew says people only like Yamato because of the side boob. That's actually very. I mean, I'm guilty. For time out. I like Yamato a lot right at the beginning. You go watch my chapter review of, like, Yamato early on. I really like Yamato at the beginning, and I fell for it too. No shame in admitting it. I was like, I like her design. It's just cool. Like, you did not expect a strong biologically female character to show up out of nowhere like that and be Kaido's son, right? I don't know. It just felt like a very fresh face to introduce to the story right then. You know. Hey, Yano says, how do you see the next couple chapters unfolding? Do we see them escape? Who dies? Does Kinemon get back up and dies? I think that I don't know exactly how how far we're gonna get with Zorro and Sanji's fight. I expect that we do get some focus on them next, but I do think that, like, again, the way I see things unfolding, I do think that Luffy will get the upper hand against Kaido for a bit before Kaido awakens and turns things around, and then things go south from there. That's my opinion. Oh, Shinawa Alibatia says, Morge, when's the Marine Ford video coming out? Yeah, I owe you guys. It's coming out. It's hard because it's in like the final stages of writing, and like it's such a long document that coming over it again, like it's just difficult. So it's getting there, but like it's next. Give me a couple more weeks for it to come out. A couple more weeks for it to come out because the and the recording and the what do you call? Recording and image finding is next, and it's pretty much done writing. But I have to do the final part that I'm dreading, which is like going through it with a fine-tooth comb and like making it right, you know. Phantom Grey Fire says, super chat miss from Adrian Hakeem says, where's my plush and Reverie invite? I'll be the dark horse. Plushes should be coming in October, and it's October now, so the plushes should be coming really soon, to be honest. Reverie invite, that's in the mail, buddy. Jinho Wong says, Morge's worst backstory. Okay. I think I've been pushed too far into a negative space, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. But I will address your question. Because I've been, like, you're making me say all the things that I think are missing from Wano, and I'm not going to backtrack and say that those things aren't missing from Wano, because you can talk about it from the Strahds end, or you can talk about it from the Scabbards end, and in both ways, it feels like it's missing, okay? But, things I've liked a lot about Wano, world building exposition, right? A lot of interesting stuff. I've liked Kaido a lot as a villain. I think Kaido is shaping up to be in contention for my favorite villain of Wano. I think that there have been a lot of great plot twists throughout Wano. I think there was a run of chapters from the reveal of the smile through Killer's reveal as Kamazo in Act 2. I think like sudden things like Kaido showing up in Act 1. Even just throughout the Onigashima battle, there have been a lot of plot twists. I think Oda's been really yanking things left and right here. I think that the hype has been really good. I don't think Marine Ford levels like some people do. I don't think even close to Marine Ford levels, but I do think that the hype has been really exciting. And there is just a different level of excitement. Not the same as Marine Ford, but different when it comes to seeing characters that are like like Luffy as the one who's clashing with Kaido, right? Like Zorro is the one who's cutting up Kaido or like fighting Big Mom, right? So when it's characters that you've seen have to be climbing uphill for so long, seeing them kind of reaching the summit, that's really exciting. So I think in general, like Wano has had really good stuff, some stuff that no other arc before this has had. I think what it's missing at the moment is stuff that obviously would be addressed if the raid fails and we finally get some struggle, some dramatic forces playing at the Strahds, some character focus, but like it's just I'm not going to get too much into it. Let's save it for a video where I can break it down in a more, I guess, like fair manner, where I can compare one-to-one with previous arcs, where I don't speak in hyperbole, right? Because I am speaking a little bit in hyperbole. Yeah, probably another reread of Wano will help, and maybe change my mind on some things, because I'm not going to pretend that my opinions right now are going to be my opinions forever. So maybe I backtrack some of the things I'm saying right now. But at the same time, a lot of the things that I'm saying, I just think are, it's a fact that the Oden backstory, right? We call it Oden's backstory because it was about Oden. Like this, it was very, very little about the Scabbards, or very, very little focus even on like Oden's connection or initial bonding with the Scabbards. Oda actually skimmed through all of that in a single chapter, 962. So all of Oden's bonds with the Scabbards were formed in like a montage sequence in a single chapter, as opposed to most tragic backstories where we see that bond forming over multiple chapters and it's individual to individual. And again, generally these flashback figures, the backstories aren't about them. Oden's backstory is the only one that's really about Oden, and not that much about it's about the Scabbards at the end of it, but it's mainly about Oden. Whereas Chopper's like any other backstory you go through throughout the series, those backstories are about the characters that matter today, and putting it in the context of the person that influenced them the most and how that bond shaped them, right? And drove what they are today. Whereas Oden's backstory is mainly about Oden, right? And then I think that plays through in things like, random characters like Yamato, Ulti. Like, even briefly, I bet Who's Who was more popular, like, until we got to see more of Who's Who, and he kind of, like, didn't meet expectations for some. Who's Who was probably more popular than all of the Scabbards for a bit. Like, these things are just true. Patrick Malone says, on a more serious note, interesting how Robin has the only good fight, and Big Mom mentioned taking her alive. Oh, that is an interesting idea. And I really did like Robin's fight. That is a really cool idea. True Sasano says, Morge, if you see this, just know that I truly love you, man. You really are amazing. Sheesh. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Anime Devil Hunter says, how's your speech so good? Do you read a lot? I don't read as much as I should nowadays. I am not a big reader nowadays. I used to be. So growing up, I was a very, very big reader. I think literally, I've said this before on stream, the thing that changed it for the most part is, honestly, I found like anime and manga. And then like, you know, you get really captivating fantasy stories, but just like delivered in an easier medium, which is like anime or manga, and that put an end to most of my reading. So I used to be a really, really big reader. Read a lot of sci-fi, read a lot of fantasy, read a lot of like, I think all sorts of genres. So it's disappointing, but like I do want to get back into it. But that has shaped a lot of how I view things. I also watch a lot of TV and movies, so if that helps. Speech so good, thank you, I appreciate that. But like that comes from other things, which is like I did like a lot of stuff like mock trial, debates, even theater. So I was actually like a good actor in high school. Fun fact, lead in the play senior year of 12th Night. I played Duke Orsino. So I was a good actor in high school. So I've never been a bad speaker. I've actually always like think that's always been one of my strengths. I think I'm a good speaker in general. Keenan says, time for positive Morge. Who's your favorite supernova in Wano besides Luffy and Zorro? Mine is Hawkins. Dude, Hawkins is my Hawkins is like one of my favorite supernovas as well. I think it's weird to say, but like just we haven't gotten to delve into some of the Wano supernovas quite as much as like, you know, like when Beige was around in Whole Cake, Beige, we got a lot of focus on Beige. So I really love Beige during Whole Cake. In Wano, I think we haven't gotten quite as much focus on any individual supernova. So I'm unfortunately going with my surface level pick, which is Hawkins. Hawkins is also my favorite supernova. Like, I just like the design, I like the ability. And like, people make fun of Hawkins for like not having big wins and stuff, but like, I'm actually very excited because the way Hawkins works, I like card games as well. So I played like Hearthstone, I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that. Like, I like card games. When you draw like the best card, when you draw a good hand, you know the difference between drawing a good hand in a card game versus like bricking in a card game. So to me, I chalk up all of Hawkins as like losses and shit to him just not drawing good hands. And like, you know, if he draws the best card in his deck, I want to see what he can do. I want to see what happens when he can really you know, when he really gets like a nuts opening. Harry Kiran says, I saw your channel Movie Morge came to my recommendation. That's good to know. I'm happy to see the movie channel coming into recommendations of people who didn't know I previously had the movie channel, who also know I had the Morge channel. I view it as a pleasant surprise, people. Sean Easton says, what do you think King looks like? I mean, King's black, right? That's all I know. I don't have a good idea on it. Chinho Wong says, do you read Dune? So I've read Dune. Dune was actually one of the, like, post high school, Dune was one of the few books that I've read. Not few, I've actually read quite a few books post high school. It's just like the number has dwindled each year. And now I don't think I've read a book in over 2 years. I don't think I've read a book in over, like a full book. I don't think I've read in over 2 years. But like, you know, post high school, I'd still read books. Like, I would read Dune. I read Dune, for example. Dune, people might rake me over the coals for this, but like, how do I explain this? Dune was a really riveting read. Very immersive read when I was in it. I feel like I was let down by the way it all came to a head. All else, and I know that Dune has a full series following it. I haven't read the following series, but I know when people talk about Dune, they're mainly talking about the first original book, Dune by Frank Herbert, right? I mean, I guess they're all by Frank. No, I think there are various authors after that. Not 100% sure. I think they're mainly by Frank Herbert. But the original Dune, I was very immersed in that series, or in that that book when I read it. I read it while I was on a vacation with my family. Actually, I remember. I don't know why I felt like sharing that, but like I don't know, it was interesting because like I would remember wanting to go back to my room at the hotel just to read and being kind of like done with the events of the day. Like, okay, we went to this town, we visited this stuff. I really want to go read Dune. Okay, I did not love the way that everything came to a head, just because it felt like things were being set up to be much bigger and grander. In the sense that Dune is a story that, in theory, encapsulates the like I don't want to say the universe. I don't remember the technicalities at the very least, but like very, very large scale galactic universal events, right? But at the end of the day, everything ended up just taking place on a single planet for the most part, and the entire galactic war took place. Like, just felt like everything happened on a much smaller scale than expected at the end of the day, and a much quicker scale, and there wasn't as much like I don't know. It felt like it was creating a world that was really, really large, and then suddenly felt very small and very resolved very quickly. Where was Morge born? I was born in Delhi. Trevor Roberts says, do you think Wano feeling empty or too easy for the Straws is because of what is coming? No news from outside world reaches Wano due to isolation. I mean, it depends because, like, why would you pace out the arc in this manner then? Because like Wano is the culmination arc to so many other storylines that it doesn't make sense to make it a very struggle-free arc from start to finish. Like, I would argue Dressrosa or Whole Cake Island for sure brought out way more emotion from the Straw Hats and way more difficulty for the Straw Hats than Wano has, right? So I don't know why you would conclude with Wano in that sense, just to, as a placeholder setup arc for the next arc. I don't think that makes as much sense to me personally. Adrian King says, do you think we will get Kaido backstory in Act 4? I would like to think so. I hope so. The Hidden Island. Wow, thank you so much. Shouts to Hidden Island. Big shouts. Hi, Morge, do you have any major advice for any other up-and-coming channels that you've picked up in your experience on YouTube? Any pitfalls or revelations that you wish you knew early on? I see why Hidden Island wants an in-depth response. Makes sense. Let me respond to Anime Devil Hunter above you first real quick, so that, as a bit of a shorter response, and then I'll get to you. Morge, you have to do a Gun Devil arc or Snowball fight analysis. That video would be fire, or maybe Denji character breakdown when you get the chance. I want to do 2 videos on Chainsaw Man right now, maybe 3. Those I might put on the Morge channel, just to see. I might try to do what Ohara's doing and try and expand this as a manga channel, but I feel confident in keeping the movie channel separate as a movie channel, okay? So the videos on Chainsaw Man, it wouldn't be specifically on the 2 things that you talked about. I don't want to spoil anything for other people. I do want to do 1 video on Makima, not necessarily on Denji. I do want to do 1 video on Makima, and one of the 2 videos I'm talking about will encompass what you're talking about, right? But not specifically about either of those 2 scenes, but it will encompass those 2 scenes. So, I don't know, Chainsaw Man content I'll be very excited for. I'm trying to find a good time to do it. More, you should start a booktube channel too. That'll help you get back into books, says Merlin's Beard. Yeah, that's great. I'm a booktuber, points to my backwards bookshelf with nothing in it. I don't know about that, man. Hidden Island. So, major advice that I have for other up-and-coming channels. So, it depends on the niche that you're looking at, right? So, I feel comfortable in the One Piece niche. I feel comfortable starting up again in any other manga niche. And I feel comfortable starting with, like, the movie niche, because a lot of that is similar stuff, which is video essay-oriented, right? Video essay-oriented on particular forms of media, right? Movies, manga, books, a lot of books. If you're talking about more so general stuff, so for example, if you want to be a sketch comedy channel, vlogging channel, cooking channel, how-to channel, so like breaking down technology stuff, right? That changes things. I don't have as much knowledge on it, but I can tell you, so I can give you much more information on the current niche. Like the One Piece niche, if I were to start over again today, it would be so easy to grow fast. I know so much about like this niche specifically, and generally anime manga, if I wanted to start again, new channel in these niches, so easy to grow really fast. I believe I would be at 100K in I won't jump to the conclusions, but I would believe that I'd be able to get to 100K like really, 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 really fast if I were starting over from scratch in the niches that I know. Okay. At broad, here are the broad tips. Okay, and this can be interesting for anybody. All right. Interesting take for anybody. I guess. How do I say this? Here are the things that YouTube rewards: consistency of upload. Okay. It's too many things to break down into a nutshell. Here are the broad things, okay? You want a consistent upload schedule. That's very, very important. With the movie channel, I already bit off more than I could chew. I was like, I'm going to do once a week. Very quickly, I realized quality matters more than quantity and frequency. So let me stick to 2 a week. But now I'm sticking to 2 a week, okay? Consistency of upload matters a lot. For a long time on this Morch channel, I would upload whenever I felt like it. Sometimes I'd go 4 or 5 months without uploading. Now I do once every Tuesday and once every Friday. And I stream on Mondays whenever I can. Okay? You always want to have consistent uploads, right? Consistent uploads. When you're figuring out your frequency, the reality is if you're able to upload consistently and frequently, you are going to grow faster. But if you're uploading inconsistently, or like if you're uploading with consistency but low frequency, so let's say once every 2 weeks, once a month, you need really, really high quality videos, okay? The things that YouTube values a lot are watch time. So the longer you can keep people watching your videos, the better. Don't go for really short videos like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes long. YouTube might quickly push that or something like that, like as a quick viral video. But in general, the chances are they value more videos that are longer. And longer videos are also going to get you more subscribers. Early on, you should care way more about subscribers than views. Subscribers matter way more than views early on because you want to grow that initial channel. The biggest thing that matters, to be honest, early on are thumbnails and titles. My thumbnails and titles were really, really bad for a long time, right? So do some research, find out a little bit about what works with thumbnails. It's not usually what you think. It takes a bit of experimenting before finding out what thumbnails are actually going to be good for your niche. It's not trying to fit in as much stuff as you think you can in a single thumbnail. A lot of it is just like finding a very simple, clear image that'll stand out from all of the noise on YouTube feeds. I don't want to get too much into the technicalities of like certain colors work better than other colors. Yeah, I'm not going to get too much into the nitty-gritty of stuff like that, but just do your research on that. And then, yeah, in general, just focus on, it's pretty straightforward. Your thumbnails and your titles are going to be what happen to get people to click, right? Consistency and decently long videos, so like aim for 10-ish, 8-ish minutes at least. That'll help YouTube feel more incentivized to promote your videos. Focus on getting subscribers, do whatever you can to get subscribers, and temper your expectations. It takes a long, long, long time to get out of that early phase. Long, long time to get out of that early phase. So like 0 subs to like 100 subs is a long grind. Then 100 to 1,000, that's a long grind. But it gets easier as it goes along. So like your first 1,000 will be a lot harder than your next 1,000. Your next 1,000 is going to come a lot easier. Pitfalls or revelations that I wish I knew early on were basically like, don't take breaks if you can afford it. Because I was really, really lax. That's probably the biggest thing that held my channel back from growing for a long time, was that don't take long breaks. When you have momentum going, ride the momentum and try and upload again on your schedule. And like put a lot of value into your thumbnails and your other stuff. Thumbnails and what do you call titles, right? Thumbnails and titles. Skip super chat from King is a woman just as Queen is a man. Queen of PTSD. Oh, what? No, there's no way King's a woman. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, Finland's here. What's up, Finland? Finland saying he taught me everything he knows. Sure. That'd be really interesting if King's a woman. That'd be really, really cool. I think that'd be a really cool twist. Do I think Yamato, this is from Nintendo Power, do I think, thanks Phantom Greyfire for calling it out. Do I think Yamato was the answer Oda was looking for when he said he didn't know how Luffy would defeat Kaido in an interview years ago? I never believed that Oda didn't actually know that, what do you call it, how Kaido would be defeated. Because if you go back to my fights analysis video, it's actually generally pretty clear that Oda has I think I won't say he necessarily starts the arc with the defeat in mind and how the defeat's going to play out, but I do think it's possible that Oda, that's something that he figures out very early on, like how he envisions how the villain will be defeated, because you just look at certain things, like the way the villain is defeated in so many arcs, it's so brilliantly set up, the setting, the symbolism, even the direction Luffy's sending them, like, so much usually comes together with the moment the villain is defeated that I don't personally believe that, like, we know Oda trolls a lot with interviews, he's like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to do this, or like, I'm not sure about that, but you know he does actually know. I chalk that up to one of the cases. As for Yamato, I don't think Yamato influenced Kaido's, like, I mean, Yamato did get a hit in on him and made him bleed, but at the moment, doesn't it seem like Yamato's been taken out of the fight and leaving it up to Luffy? And besides that, I don't think that Yamato's injured Kaido that much more than, say, like, I mean, like, Zoro's injured Kaido more than Yamato. Scabbards probably injured Kaido more than Yamato. It's hard to say. It's hard to tell how much Yamato injured Kaido. We saw that she made Kaido bleed. That's basically what we saw. Phantom Greyfire says, skip super chat from Kaiden Jagger. Opinion on feet. Alright, do we have to get into this? This might sound weird. No, it's not weird. This is normal. I don't get the obsession that people have over feet. I don't get it. That's never been, like, it's one of those things that I just don't get. You know? I just don't get it. That's not weird to say. It's actually, it almost feels, it's so commonplace for guys to have a foot fetish at this point and be like, you know, spamming at girls, show feet, show feet, show feet. Now it almost feels weird for me to be like, I don't get it. Why do we like her feet? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't get the foot thing. Anuj Agrawal, I missed it. Did I miss Cole's super chat? Let's see. I'll get to Cole in a second. Skip super chat. Enter name says thoughts on Fujitora / Akainu being brothers. No, I addressed this one. I don't think Akainu and Fujitora are brothers. This was a super chat that came out like a long while back, right? Hold on. I'm pulling up the monetization page again for the supers. Let's see. Cole says, it feels like we're running out of enemies for when the raid... feels like we're running out of enemies for when the raid fails. Who could come in to fight afterwards? The Big Mom crew, just Kaido revives. Yeah, I think revives because I think the Tobiroku haven't shown their awakenings yet. We know that zones are the most durable type of fruit, and we know that awakenings should be very common among zones, considering the Impel Down guards had them, so, and considering how brief and quick the Stride fights were. So I do expect that, you know, awakenings will be in the picture for them. Nintendo Power says, missed my last super chat, so here's another one. You didn't say anything. You didn't say anything, dude. The Hidden Island, thanks a lot, says, I'm also in the One Piece niche, so that advice was especially helpful to hear. Thanks a lot. I'll say this also, okay, adding on a little bit to that, I like talking about this just because this is not the type of question you usually get, right? So it's kind of fun. In terms of growing in the... Mara00 Junior says legs greater than feet. Yeah, legs, like, that's just, that's natural, right? That just makes sense. Feet, I don't get. Master Goku 4321 says scat is a much better fetish. That is where we disagree. That is where I don't quite understand. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh yeah, the One Piece. Okay, so in general, the maybe bigger piece of advice, not the bigger piece of advice, but you generally want to understand the type of content that you're making. How do I say this? So, like, you expect a different type of content from my channel versus Grand Line Reviews channel, right? You expect a different type of content from O'Hara's channel, from JD Legends channel, right? You expect a different type of content from Brago versus King of Lightning, right? From Rogers Base to Tekking, right? Like, you get the idea, right? I think every One Piece, even just in this little niche of One Piece YouTube, most of the larger One Piece YouTubers, in general, there's a... Okay, in business we call this a USP. Okay, in business it's called a unique selling point. All right, every business has a USP. All right, and it feels like middle school type homework, but you're supposed to write down what's your business's USP. That is how you should approach a YouTube channel. Why are you different from other YouTube channels in this niche, right? Or at the very least, can you like do an original take on something that's already being done? So for example, like, you know, even Grandline Review, he does a lot of the explained videos the same way Tekking does explained videos. But Grandline Review's approach to explained videos is different than Tekking's approach to explained videos. So even if you're doing something similar, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, there should be a different reason for them to watch your YouTube channel than others. So like, you need to identify that very quickly, especially if you're in One Piece or anime manga. Like, are you a hot takes type of person? Do you give like big reactions or something like that? Are you more measured discussion? If you're more measured discussion, then you're gonna have a hard time standing out from the crowd because you really need to have like very interesting things to say and like a really, really strong like you can't just be talking about the series basically, right? You genuinely need to be bringing something interesting to the table and like with a different approach than other people. Not like a different approach, I guess necessarily, but like yeah, it needs to literally be more substantive than what other people are saying. Now, if you can't really differentiate your content like that, right? Then the next thing you got to do is kind of change your schedule or like your actual business approach to it, in the sense that like how frequently are you going to upload? You know, maybe somebody's content is better than yours, but like, or maybe your content is the same, right? Maybe you both do discussion videos, but if you upload more frequently than the other person, or you get on topics faster than the other person, then that's like an important part of it as well. So figure out what makes your channel unique, right? Why are you doing the channel? Don't just do the channel to do it, because if you don't actually offer something that's substantively different than what other people are doing, then you're gonna have a hard time. And for people that you're competing with, you need to find like edges that make sense for you, in the sense that like, is it speed of upload, right? Do you get on topics faster? Do you upload more consistently? Do you like what do you do that's different, right? Thomas Guest says, I thought of another small reason for the read feeling. Love it. Usopp and Frankie still haven't changed the design of Sanji's suit. I mean, there's so many things that have been dropped throughout this that like you don't know if they're actually going to come to be. Like, you know, Frankie was supposed to he was going to work on some weapon to like hurt Kaido. Zorro was going to round up the Wano samurai. There's like little things that you could say, you know, you expect to come to be, but haven't happened. And I'm not going to necessarily hold that against the Wano arc, but I'm also not going to like, I'm not going to like, there's the reality is there's a possibility that like these things just don't, or it's just not going to write those things into happening. So I like the idea that like, okay, that adds a piece towards the read feeling, but like, it's not necessarily going to be the case. Master Goku says, where the hell are the rest of the Big Mom pirates? I agree. They're sorely missing. Oh, are the mods fighting? Our minds are scrambled from taking down these spammers and copying all the super chats. Okay, never mind. The mods are against me. They're subtly calling out that I'm not doing a good job. What would you like me to do? Read all the super chats? I'd try. See, Whitney says Morge like hooves. Adrian Hakeem says, I believe CP0 will capture Kaido at the end of Wano. What do you think of the idea of Blackbeard killing Kaido after Wano and stealing his Delphi? No grand death. Yeah, no, I'm actually on board with something like that, Adrian. I'm on board with something like that. Phantom Briefer says, stuff that needs resolution in Wano. Fights, yep. Orochi, yep. Zorro backstory, yep. Zorro sword, yep. Kaido backstory, Yamato A stuff, Tama promise, Onigashima mystery, Big Mom pirates, CP0, Hiyori, Toki, etc. Yep. Yes, we've got superpowers. All incredibly helpful advice. Yep. Glad to help. Yeah, we're caught up on Superchats, Sean Easton. Alright. So, other questions. Tekking has that passionate takes and hypes. Is that Kenneth? Yeah, I mean, there's no one like Tekking. Okay, fun fact. Tekking was my favorite YouTuber to watch while my channel was still, now I don't really watch other YouTubers, and again, it's nothing personal, it's just like, ever since I started doing One Piece consistent, like, so 2021, this year was the first year that I started doing consistently One Piece, right? So I'm uploading every week, right? For a long time, I just haven't watched other One Piece YouTubers just because talking about One Piece all the I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like talking about what, like, looking, like, in my spare time watching other One Piece stuff. But go back to, like, 2017, 2018 March. I was watching Tekken. Tekken's fun to watch. I was watching Tekken. I liked, who did I watch? I watched Tekken. I watched Roger's Base. I watched Brago D Ace's group streams. I thought his group streams were fun to watch. I used to watch Ohara's videos more so for feedback, because, like, that was when he was still, like, developing his style and stuff. So he's, like, regularly asking me questions and stuff. Hazard and Gibson's is lol. Morge always goes on huge tangents when I paste my comments again. What? I didn't go on a tangent. What are you talking about? The Ryuma says, Morge, what is your favorite movie of all time? It's so tricky now. It's so tricky now. There's a time that I was like, I think 2001: A Space Odyssey, that's my favorite movie. I think I believe that from, I don't know, I think that was my favorite movie from, like, for like 10 years maybe. Not 10 years, like, for like 6 years. Probably like 5 or 6 years is probably my favorite movie. I think since late high school, that was my favorite movie. And I'm not, like, 30 now, alright? I'm 25, okay? So I'm not that old. But that was probably my favorite movie for like 5, 6 years then. And then I started getting more into world cinema in preparation for the movie channel. So in preparation for the movie, like, I was already a very, very big film watcher, and I'd taken film classes and stuff throughout college, so I had a good understanding. Film classes, English classes, etc. Right? So I had a very strong understanding of history, development of film, like how different things branched off, etc. But in terms of watching movies for fun, I hadn't branched out as much into world cinema. But as I was approaching the movie channel for like months and months in advance of the movie channel, for like the last year essentially, probably since the start of 2021, it's been all world cinema for me that I've been watching. And that's changed my... Now it's made it very hard for me to pick a favorite film because it might still be 2001. It might be 8.5. I think off the top, like, it depends on what I'm feeling at the moment. I'd say 8.5, 2001, and maybe Rashomon. No, I wouldn't say Rashomon, but Rashomon was like, I really, really, I think Rashomon had like the biggest effect on me when I first watched it in terms of like a realization of how good certain things of like really, even really old world cinema could be. Yeah, I'd say maybe 8.5 is my favorite film now, but if I watch 2001 again, maybe I like 2001 better. It's been a bit since I've rewatched 2001. Maybe even La Dolce Vita. I don't know. It's a little hard. I think I want to watch more and then at some point, like, sit down, do some rewatches, and then kind of like, get a better mentality for it. But at the same time, I don't think it matters that much that I can't, like, tell you, like, what are my top 10 favorite movies right now, because I think it's just going to be a list that's, like, in my mind, there's movies that I really, really like for different things, and a top 10 will always be fluid and changing based on what I'm feeling at the moment. Cigar Verk says, to be honest, I won't like to see Luffy fight another dragon. And this is in response to that Blackbeard stealing a fruit, Kaido's fruit thing. And I actually agree. I don't think that Oda would do that again. Just that idea of like fighting a dragon, Luffy fighting a dragon yet again for the finale. I think it might be a little repetitive. Daniel Boyce says, you seem pretty negative about Wano. I know it's not over yet, but where would you rank it so far compared to other arcs, and what rating would you give it? Okay, I'm sorry if this stream gave like the impression that I really, really that I'm just negative about Wano. I think it's more so that, like, how do I say this? I want to make clear because I've been very positive about Wano for a lot of things in chapter reviews, right? And with people asking more questions like, well, what about the rate filling? I feel the need to clarify that, like, well, everything that I say and all my opinions that I give in the chapter reviews are based on my perspective that this is not the final battle. So I want to be clear that like my views would be very different if I expected this to be final battle, and I would be a lot more like, well, why is I don't think that this was particular. Like I feel like we're missing a lot of substance here from pretty much this entire arc. Okay, so I feel that basically I'm letting out a lot of negativity here without necessarily taking the time to collect my thoughts as much, or like put it into a streamlined format, or even giving it another solid reread to determine, like, even if this is the final battle, is it like missing as much as I feel like it's missing? Okay, so I guess this stream I let out more unfiltered thinking than is probably for better saved for sitting down, taking the time to think, rethink the structure of the arc, maybe look for things that are there that maybe I'm like. I mean, it's hard to imagine, but like maybe Frankie did have something really meaningful this arc that happened, or maybe he did have some storyline. I don't think he did, but maybe there was something that I'm missing, some important moment for his character. So stuff like that. I think it's hard to rank at the moment because, to me, like the arc literally just doesn't. It's not a story unless it doesn't end here. If it ends here, then I feel like we didn't really read much of a story. We read a very straightforward telling of events that had very little actual dramatic build-up, investment, or uh, you know, arcs for any of the characters that mattered. So to me, it just doesn't make sense as a story at the moment, right? Even thematically, it's very hard to break down any like. There's certain things that I'm thinking of, right, in terms of thematically, what is Wano even about? And I think if you ask like 50 different people, you would get 50 different answers, or a good variety of answers. Maybe there'd be some overlap. But right now, I think a lot of the ideas of Wano are still developing. I think there's still many plot threads that are still up in the air. I think that there are many character arcs that have yet to happen or have just started occurring, like Zorro just starting to find out about his heritage. So to me, it's like, how do I say this? Like, if Wano is going in the direction that I believe, then I think it's like developing into possibly a very, very great arc. But with so many people coming at me and saying, well, this is just the end of it, right? This is just the end. And I'm like, okay, well, if I did like a thematic breakdown of this arc right now, if I did a character breakdown of this arc right now, if I did a story structure breakdown of this arc right now, this would be a really, 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 like, really, really shoddily constructed arc by Oda. So that's why it's so hard for me to rank or compare to other arcs, because I'm literally just viewing it through a different lens. In my mind, I'm like, we're at this place in the story, which is why these ideas are developing, these plot threads are up in the air, these character arcs are beginning to become clear, right? Other people are saying, well, we had some stuff happen, we had the battles, the Scabbards had their backstory, and the Strahds got their fight, that's a story, put a stamp on it, it's over. I'm like, that's not One Piece. That's actually not, that's just like some, that's just a mishmash of shit happening with some hype fights and some lore building and world building and lore thrown in, basically. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, if you want it your way and just say, like, put a stamp on it, it's done, then I don't think it would be a good arc. If we're, like, still in the process of storytelling and building the story of the arc, then I think we're on the way to potentially a really great arc. So that's why it's a hard question for me to answer. Nintendo Power says, do you watch Roger for his Nintendo content? No. I like watching Roger for some of his reactions back in the day. I think I still remember Roger's reaction to like the seppuku chapter. I liked his reaction to the seppuku chapter. Like, I mean, that's just a random off the top of my head like video that I can remember. Like, let's see, Tekking. I think Tekking. You know what made Tekking fun for me to watch back in the day? Like, these are videos that I like to watch while I'm eating lunch, right? Because I was a small channel. I was like, one day I want like a big channel like these guys, obviously, and like I want to be able to talk One Piece freely like these guys. It was just fun to watch these other guys and how they're doing things. Tekking was fun to watch because he could take topics that are inherently not interesting, like, and it just becomes a fun video to watch because he's inserting his personality or whatever into it, right? So like, I remember there's a video that Tekking did on Ideo, right? He goes through the characters and does them one at a time, right? He did a video on Ideo. And Tekking opens the video by basically being like, yeah, today we're talking about Ideo. And he's very open about it. He's like, I don't really know what we're going to talk about with this guy. Like, this is just, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one. And he still made it entertaining, because, like, there's not a lot to talk about with Ideo, but because there's not a lot to talk about with Ideo, it became a little funny that he's finding stuff to talk about with Ideo. Stone Magnet 1 says, Morge, I think Yamato and Momo will rebuild Wano together, each representing the other's father. Therefore, Otama could be the new Straw Hat. Hail Otama. Hey, that's not a bad idea. I think that's a cool idea. Terrence Phillips says City of God is pretty up there too. I love City of God. I love City of God. I showed it to my family and they didn't like it, and I was just like, fuck. I hyped it up too. I did that thing where you hype it up too much and then they get mad because they're like, whoa, you forced us to watch it, so now we're going to hold it to the most stringent of expectations. And if it doesn't meet our expectations, oh, you're fucking in for it. City of God I love. Here's why I love City of God. Hard promote City of God to all of you. City of God has the best, to me, the most immersive and vivid in movie world building. How do I explain this? Like, it's not a 3-hour movie. It's probably like 2.5 hours, 2 hours 20 minutes, maybe something like that off the top. And it all takes place in one city, right? And within that city, it creates such a vivid world and cast of characters, in the way that it jumps around. It feels almost One Piece-esque in the way that it jumps around from like scene to scene, character to character, and like all these storylines are somewhat intertwined, overlapping. The histories come back to bite characters. Something that happened between this interaction in this part of the city, between, let's say this drug trade or whatever, this drug deal or whatever, that influences what happens to this character down the line. I don't know. It's emotionally strong. Seeing the development of characters over the years is strong, but like it's more so to me just like the vivid world that it creates. I love revisiting that movie. I should do a City of God video. Shinji Ikari says 2001, 8.5, One Piece. All his favorites start with a number. Yeah, guys, listen. There's no work of fiction. You guys might be like, oh, more just being like negative about One Piece or something like that right now. There is no, forget movies. There's no work of fiction that I love more than One Piece, okay? There's no work of fiction that I love more than One Piece. I've thought about it. I'm like, okay, if the raid fails, I'll probably get a One Piece tattoo. Most likely. There's nothing else that I'm thinking of like, oh, I would get a tattoo of that, right? One Piece is the only thing in the world I'm like, I would get a tattoo of that, okay? Like, there's plenty of movies I really love, but there's no like work of fiction that I love like One Piece. No work of fiction, no manga, no book, nothing. If I don't see a movie analysis on the Gremlins, I will haunt you after that. Fair enough. Alright, let me catch up on these supers. Fuck, how far back am I? Oh my god. Hold on, guys. Oh, I gotta order dinner. I'm hungry. Alright, let me order dinner while I'm pulling up these supers. Oh wait, no. Okay, we're caught up. Okay, we're all caught up. Alright, so I can safely order dinner. Jinbei tattoo when? No, Jinbei tattoo is never happening. Please sing says A Song of Ice and Fire. Even at my peak of Game of Thrones enjoyment, I was never like a diehard Game of Thrones fan, you know? Even at my peak of Game of Thrones enjoyment, I was never a diehard Game of Thrones fan. But I was definitely a Game of Thrones like heavy invested viewer. And then I think like I don't even know which season. It just started going downhill bit by bit. And like people say the final season was really bad. I thought the season before that was pretty rough. Game of Thrones, I think from 5, 6, and 7 was like very hit or miss. It's funny because I think some of Game of Thrones' best moments came in its later seasons. So for example, Cersei blowing up the Sparrow and all those people, right? Amazing setup to that scene. Hold the Door. Fucking Hold the Door is I think Game of Thrones peaked with Hold the Door. I think Hold the Door is amazing. That was like in the second to last season, maybe second to last season. maybe 6th season, I'm not sure. But yeah, like I have no love for Game of Thrones at this point. Just the way it ended was just too. There's like I remember that show with nothing but like disappointment. You know what I mean? Federico Dovel says, I really dislike Yamato being so strong even though she never left the island. What are Luffy and Kaido's experiences worth if she's just as strong as them from the start? No. But what you're missing, in my opinion, to me it makes sense because you don't need to leave the island. If you're if the person you regularly get to fight is Kaido, she fights Kaido. She's regularly tried to fight and attack and kill Kaido. And it sounds like Kaido doesn't take it super easy on her either. So it makes sense to me. It'd be like, imagine if Zorro was with Mihawk from the start. You know how much stronger Zorro got during those 2 years? Imagine if Zorro was again with like just on an island with Mihawk from day one. That's insane. People are throwing stuff up now. Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, The Wire. You guys upset I've never seen The Wire? I've seen a good chunk of The Sopranos, but I've seen it all out of order, so it's not exactly like, I mean, for me, I guess I'm basic. My favorite TV show of all time was Breaking Bad. Shocking, I know. Another person whose favorite show is Breaking Bad, but I just love Breaking Bad. That is really good. Black Mirror is actually really up there for me as well. But I don't think the Black Mirror recent seasons have been that good. Last 2, I don't think. Koopy Coop says, hey Morge, are any Morgecast coming up soon? Yes. Yes, Koopy Coop. Fuck. Fuck. Okay, Koopy Coop's gonna be a mod forever. This is fucked up. He doesn't even deserve it. All he does is remind me of not doing the Morgecast. Oh, god damn it. I'm never gonna stop asking. No, I'll do a Morgecast. Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul I'm not caught up on. I really want to catch up on Better Call Saul. Because, you know, it's get to go through Game of Thrones again. Or not Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad again. Masan says, did you watch Invincible? I did not want to watch Invincible for so long. Here's why. I didn't want to watch Invincible for so long because, actually, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I'll leave you with this thought. I'll be back to explain why I didn't want to watch Invincible. Drop 30 viewers? Okay, so let me just reveal my quick strategy, all right? I realized every time I leave, I lose a bunch of viewers, right? Natural, but I don't want it to happen. So, I big brain, leave you guys with a juicy question like, hey, let me tell you what I think about Invincible. Wait, I'll be back and then I'll reveal to you what I think about Invincible. Numbers dropped 50%. Oh, fuck, the strategy didn't work. There's no way they dropped 50%. You're lying. Imagine the strategy backfired that bad. Aaron says that chair looks uncomfortable. Yeah, it is. Here, let me show you. Oh, fuck, is the stream? Oh, no. Alright, see this. Look at this chair. You see this? It's not like, it's like a shitty dining room table chair, because it is. This is the chair that came with my IKEA set that is supposed to be out in the dining room, but I just pulled one of those chairs and brought it over here. That way I saved money on not having to buy a nice, I guess, gaming chair or some shit. But it's not comfortable at all. So, anyway. What was I saying? Anyway, the strategy was I leave you guys with a question. So instead of like ending on a thought and then leaving, I leave you with a juicy question like Invincible. And then I leave, and then I come back. And look at that. You said Drusser says I only lost like 10%. I can deal with that. Only dropped about 50, that's actually solid. That's the new strategy from now on. Okay, that's the new way. Alright, I just always end by saying, hey, do you want to hear my thoughts on Invincible? And then I leave. That'll be the new plan. Seriously speaking though, Invincible, I didn't want to watch it for a long time. Why? Because it got so popular so fast and everyone's tweeting about it. And I've not been in the mood to watch like a full TV show for a long time. So I'm like, new TV show, it's the new wave or whatever. It's probably not going to be a big deal. I can just ignore it like I ignored Tiger King, and then people will shut the fuck up about it after like a month. Okay? Because that's what happened with Tiger King. That's what happened with Chernobyl. I was able to avoid. That's what happened with the Queen's Gambit. I was able to avoid watching those shows. They might have been perfectly good shows. It's just that I'm not in the mood to like. I don't want to have to dedicate like 10, 15 hours of my life to like watch this full series just to like be entertained for like a period of time and then talk with other people. Like I'm just busy. I got other things to do. Okay, and with Invincible, I was like, no, this is just gonna be another like one of those dumb waves, and people are gassing it up so much. And oh, it's another fucking superhero twist. Oh, superheroes, but bad. You mean like The Boys, which I also watched, and then like didn't watch season 2 because of the same reasons that I mentioned before. So it's like I don't care about this. Obviously, anime Twitter's going crazy over it because like anime Twitter's gonna love animated adult cartoons, obviously. And then like eventually it got to a point where it was too much. Too many people saying I gotta watch it. People in real life that I know would not normally like watching shit like Invincible telling me I gotta watch it. Like would not like watching anime or animated cartoons. Telling me I gotta watch Invincible. So then I did, and I was so mad that it was actually good because I just wanted to be like, hey, this show's shitty and like no one's gonna care about it in like 5 months, and this show's just stupid. But I watched it and I liked it quite a bit. I think it's hard to explain. Invincible, like the aspects of Invincible that I really like, it's got a very gripping plot. I'll say that, like gripping plot, but there's a lot going on in the plot, like unexpected aspects of it that keep you invested. It's got a really, really sharp way of like kind of keeping you invested in the storylines that are playing out. Not that I necessarily loved all of the storylines that happened. I really disliked a lot of the Invincible characters. I think Invincible has a bunch of shitty characters, but overall, like, that's a good show. I really like that show. It's one of the few shows that I'm really looking forward to coming back. Okay? It's not like Stranger Things where I'm like, I really liked you season 1. I didn't mind you season 2, even though it was like a lot of the same shit and it's kind of lost its initial appeal. Alright, you're still going for season 3. Oh, you signed on for like 3 more seasons. Great. It's 3 more seasons of doing this same, 1980s throwback nostalgia kick. I don't know. Stranger Things I'm still actually gonna watch, probably, maybe. But I really like Stranger Things season 1. Okay, enough about that. I'm probably losing viewers as we speak. But Omni-Man is a jerk. That's a show. Yeah, but it's cool the way it played out, huh? I liked Invincible at the end of the day. Gabe C says, "Hey Morge, can you give your in-depth thoughts on Primer?" Shoot, I just went off. I don't want to talk not One Piece too much because then people are gonna leave. And I just talked a bunch about. I feel like I used up my meter for talking about not One Piece. All right, let's quickly talk about Primer. I thought Primer, guys. Actually, I can spin it. All right. If you have ever thought about making a movie and are like, well, how would I ever get into the industry? It's too expensive. The best low budget movie that I think I've ever seen. It's on a budget that you could potentially afford if you saved up, got loans and stuff like that. Like, no Hollywood backing, nothing like that. If you want a mind-blowing, mind-bending, sci-fi, surprisingly low budget, like replicable movie to watch Prime. There's no other movie like. Okay, Coherence is like Primer. I actually like Coherence better. No, Coherence. I guess the only similarities is low budget, cool sci-fi concept, and a really cool approach to a sci-fi concept that's been done before. Okay, so more unique approach to a sci-fi concept. Primer is time travel. Coherence is alternate realities. Okay, and quantum splitting, I suppose. Okay, if you like sci-fi to some degree, if you want to see genuinely unique takes on the concept, Primer is one of the few movies that actually does time travel in a way that acknowledges the complexities of time travel, in that you don't fully understand what's going on because the characters, it's actually amazing because every time travel movie, right? Back to the Future, Edge of Tomorrow, whatever, right? Anytime, fucking Avengers, there's going to be some smart dude or some scientist explaining, here's how the time travel is going to work and here are the effects it's going to have or whatever. Primer is amazing because Primer actually treats time travel as time travel, in that it would be something that we don't fully understand, and the events that start to spiral out of that time travel, at first they start to make sense and we can follow them. But as it plays out, we start to realize that no, they're missing pieces here and there's things that we don't fully understand, and we're trying to play catch up with exactly how the time travel is playing out, but it plays out in such a real way that it feels like this is what would actually happen if we suddenly had access to time travel. And there's not just some like super smart 8,000 IQ person who could just break it down casually and be like, yeah, this is how time travel works, and like this is just the way that everything's going to, as long as we keep track or whatever, this is the way that the cause and effect chains are going to play out. It gets into like a really, really, really interesting sort of what do you call it? Maze of overlapping, basically time travel trips, that at some point you kind of just realize that, like, yeah, this feels like the most realistic and most interesting take on time travel that I've ever seen. Okay, and Coherence is really good for other reasons, but it's kind of similar. It's actually really, really similar. If you like Primer, I suggest go watching Coherence. Adrian Hakeem says, get in that damn car and make a Morgecast. Hashtag why you hate us. Dude, I just haven't had to drive that far recently. I'm sorry. I haven't had to drive that far recently. Oh, man. No, I want a good chair. I do want a good chair. Watch Squid Game. Yep, I'm on it. Multi2 Terminator says, did you ever think of inviting Craftsdwarf to the Reverie? He's some of the best One Piece videos out there. So, two things on that. I did think of inviting Craftsdwarf to the Reverie, and I probably should have approached him and asked him, because we've had Craftsdwarf on the Wano Report before, and we liked having him on the Wano Report. The main thing is, from what I know of Craftsdwarf, I think he really does not like the One Piece community, and maybe I'm misjudging him or mischaracterizing him. I don't think that it's like a mean thing to say. I think that it's more so his point of view. I get the sense that Craftsdwarf, I don't know, like I've seen some of his comments, and I've seen like just his general. I've seen some of the things. Yeah, I've just seen some of his comments, right? And I was actually part of his Discord at one point. I joined his Discord initially for a little bit. So I get the sense that Craftsdwarf does not like, or maybe looks down on, a lot of the other One Piece YouTubers, and I don't think he has an interest particularly in interacting with them. So maybe it would have been a good. That's part of it, and then the other part is also that, like, with the Reverie, so you understand, with the Reverie, the way it was fully planned. With the Reverie, one, I wanted it to be about the One Piece, I guess the One Piece YouTuber community. right? Like, and unfortunately, the reality of it is that like that encompasses. How do I say this? I wanted to be basically one primarily about One Piece YouTubers, so people who like really are dedicated to One Piece specifically. Craftsdwarf, I feel like applies more to, it's like more of a variety guy, like other stuff. I know he has done multiple One Piece videos, but I know he does other videos as well. And then on top of that, like there's just a lot of other people that you can start throwing into the conversation who've actually been in reveries before, like a Naxtaku, like a Chibi, like a Too Spooky, like other people who cover One Piece and variety stuff. I was trying to cut it down to just One Piece YouTubers, right? So just One Piece YouTubers and really make it like a One Piece community sort of a thing. So I mean, those were the two main factors. The second factor is really the big one, but then like the exception I was thinking of making for like, you know, the factor that like we wanted to do it for One Piece community, One Piece YouTubers. I did consider asking Craftsdwarf because again he's been on the Wano report and he does like do more in-depth One Piece videos than other people do. But then the second factor of me also knowing that Craftsdwarf I don't think likes the other One Piece YouTubers or respects other One Piece YouTubers, maybe just be like, okay, so no Nextaku, no Craftsdwarf, no Chibi reviews, etc. Mohammed Railhan says, how often does the Reverie happen? Um, there's no set schedule. There's no set schedule. The Reverie group chat it's a funny group chat because it's just like generally it's just talking about other stuff, right? And like there's no set amount of time before someone's like there's no like concrete schedule on like, yeah, we're gonna do the Reverie next and like it'll be this person hosting it or whatever. It's more like you know, occasional just like spurts of discussion or whatever about random stuff, you know, going on. And then eventually at some point someone's just like, hey, can I want to host the next Reverie. And then it kind of goes over like that. And then like maybe some other people are like, yeah, I think that makes sense. Or some people are like, oh, I'd like to throw my hat in the race if we're talking about the Reverie. And then there's some back and forth discussion. A lot of people kind of just don't even join in on that discussion. And then like, it's kind of just spirals into someone gets it at the end of the day. Like it never gets heated or anything like that. It's just like, can I have it? That's how. Okay, so like for example, for me when I did the Reverie, I hit 100K subs. I wanted to celebrate in some way. For a long time, I was like, I just never want to do the Reverie. I think once I hit 100K subs, I wanted to do it just because it felt like it was not exactly a celebration. Obviously, the Reverie itself happened well after I got 100K subs, just because of the timing and planning that it took. But it did feel like I just wanted to do something kind of big because I felt like I'd hit a milestone, right? So it's like, let me host a Reverie as well. So then I came in and I was like, I just said, hey, so I'm thinking I'm just gonna host the next Reverie. And then like, you know, there's some like little back and forths and stuff, and then like maybe someone's like, well, okay, well maybe I want it. And then I was kind of just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. And then it kind of just like, you know, just spirals into that just being the case, and everyone's like, okay, let's just go with it. Leo Recto says, if you could give a line zone to anyone in One Piece, who? Oh, that's a cool question. That's hard. That's very hard because like, I don't know. Because a line zone is not like a broke fruit, but it is a cool fruit, and I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. A lion zone to anyone in One Piece. Maybe a straw hat. Maybe like it'd be really funny for Nami to get a zone fruit because Nami doesn't like. I don't think Nami would enjoy getting a double fruit. So for comedy, maybe Nami. Maybe Shanks just as like an added little buff, and that'd be cool to see. Besides that, I'm not really sure. I think it's hard to say who I want to see get a lion fruit. Multi2 Terminator says, did you ever... Oh, no, we covered that one. the One Piece Illuminati. The One Piece Illuminati. If the One Piece Illuminati exists, it's just the Reverie group chat, and it's an extremely disorganized and like not well put together Illuminati. I'll just say that. Ninarbot says Luffy times Han is canon. Times Hancock. It's like Luffy times Han? What are you talking about? This is a totally different series. Their relationship mirrors Baby 5 and Sai. You're always right about everything, but blind about Luffy and Han. I don't think Oda would treat. I think Oda would treat serious relationships between the Straw Hats very differently than he would treat a side relate, like pretty much a gag romance, almost not a gag romance. It got a little serious, at least with Baby 5 putting a gun to her head and everything like that. But I think Oda would treat the romances for the Straw Hats a little more seriously, like Sanji and Pudding, even Zorro and Hiyori as that's developing. That is based on some more serious, serious dramatic events developing. I don't think that Luffy times Hancock, I think that that's too much of a gag romance for it to actually become, the romance for Luffy for the series. If Ace will get revived? I don't think so. Okay. I'm going to call the stream in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So I think we'll say that's probably going to be a good time for me to go get dinner and stuff like that. All right, so 10 minutes, I'll call the stream. Besides that, shoot, what happened to what did I do to the chat? Hello? What did I do to the chat? What did I do to the chat? Persian Cat says, thoughts on Ace coming back, even 1%? No, I don't think so. I don't think Ace is coming back. A raid video soon? Yeah, I do want to do a raid video soon. It's just a little more intensive video in terms of the time I have to commit to it, because I want to get more thoughts out. So it depends on how much free time I get this week. Or writing time, essentially. Shin Ho Wong says, you watch Prison Break? Nope. I don't think I've watched as much. So there was a period of time, I think especially in college, I would watch a lot of every single big TV show that was out at the time, I'd watch, right? So, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, Westworld, whatever big TV shows coming out at the time, True Detective, doesn't matter, I would watch it. I think post-college, I've not watched TV shows as much. You know why? You know why I'm not as much into TV shows post-college? I guess because in college, I think it comes down to, because TV shows, I think with TV, you generally watch TV, a large part of it, to talk with other people about it. That's largely the fun of TV, right? Like, episodes are coming out, or even if you're binging, it's just the process of watching TV, because it's such a long developing plot line with you expect a lot of twists and developments happening over time. The fun of TV, I think a lot of it just comes down to discussing it with other people, right? So in college, you're in a big environment with a lot of other people your same age or whatever, and you want to be into the same stuff that you can have discussions with other people about, right? It's an inherent part of socializing, right? Same way you watch sports, same way you watch TV, stuff like that. You want to be in tune to everything that's going on. Post-college, not as much, right? Post-college, my friend group, post-college has been my friend group post-college. I'll watch if other people are watching, but at the same time, I don't feel a need to be up to date on a lot of TV shows. So, and it's a much bigger commitment than, say, watching a movie. Movies, I think, a lot of people will just watch, whether or not you've watched, I think that TV shows you watch slightly more with the added benefit of, that being an ongoing discussion with people. Game of Thrones, that's a topic that you can talk about endlessly with people for so long. Game of Thrones was just a topic you could talk about endlessly with people who you barely even knew, right? Whereas even movies, maybe you watch Kong versus Godzilla, like somebody else did, but that's not a main drive. How do I say this? I think with movies, particularly with blockbusters, movies fall into two categories in my opinion. I think with blockbuster movies, the fun is going to watch with other people as a group event, in my opinion. That's me personally. And then better, maybe more well-crafted movies and stuff, you're watching more for yourself, right? It's not necessarily for the social aspects. I think TV shows, whether you watch it with yourself or with other people, at the end of the day, a lot of the enjoyment of TV shows comes from the socializing, discussion, that comes out of keeping up with it episode to episode. Damon Nickerson says you should give a lion down to the sunny. Oh, that's a brilliant idea. I'm so stupid. That's actually the smartest idea. What's Christian McCurdy doing? I've arrived. Christian showed up 7 minutes before I'm gonna end the stream. Persian Cat says, will Marco join the crew or the fleet? And will Marco reform his crew? I think Marco's gonna join. No, I don't think he's joining either. I think Marco's just going to be an independent individual who will act as an ally. I don't think. I put out a video on this before, and actually a very similar video is coming out tomorrow. I don't think like everyone that's joining the Strats is going to be, or everyone that helps the Strat is going to be in the Strat Grand Fleet. I think that there's a difference between independent allied forces versus like actual subordinates of the Strats who are in the Grand Fleet. Adrian Hakeem says, have you been playing any new video games recently? If so, what's been your favorite so far? Great question. Super Mario Galaxy 1. Alright? That's not a joke. Okay. So, Super Mario Galaxy 1 has been kind of my game that I've been playing a lot as of late. Here's why. Because right now I'm in a very productive phase in my life, so I'm getting a lot of work done, basically, and plus the move is pretty much most of the bullshit that I had to do over the course of the move has been resolved. So, but for a long time, the last 2 months have been very stressful. That vacation I took a week ago was very helpful. But a lot of work I've been doing, a lot of stressful stuff. So during that period of time, to unwind, I needed a very, very basic, simple game. And Super Mario Galaxy is actually on the Nintendo Switch, which I've recently purchased. So it's actually it's a very easy game, but it's fun to play. You jump around on different planets with varying environments. I don't know. It's just a very fun, relaxing game. There's like very, very, very good for deloading stress. You know what I mean? Multiplayer games, like I was playing Super Smash Bros. Melee a lot earlier this year. That's that's probably the game that I'm best at, that I played the most. I've never been like a really big gamer, but like Melee is the one game that I played competitively to a degree, right? I can't do that right now. Why? Because when I'm in a not stressful place, but like a place where I'm being very productive and going very try hard and a lot of, I guess, brain power being used over the course of the day, I can't be going online later in the day queuing into multiplayer basically for a very difficult game like Super Smash Bros. Melee and like getting another headache if like then you're having to really try hard and like pit yourself against other people and like a lot of thinking is going on and like you beat some people, lose to some people, sometimes you'll get cheesed, sometimes you get tilted. That's not what you want at the end of the day. Even if you feel good playing it, like I need more clear days to be able to play like fun multiplayer games and stuff like that where I can really give it my all. When I want to relax, de-stress, Super Mario Galaxy 1, that's the game I play. I think I'm like 60% of the way through or like 50% of the way through. Got a lot of stars. I'm going for completionist. Nickelodeon Smash game. I don't know if I'm going to get that. I mean, here's the tricky thing with the Nickelodeon Smash game. Alright? With the Nickelodeon Smash game, I legitimately don't know I legitimately don't know if this Nickelodeon game is going to be actually good or if a lot of it's just like, the meme. It's hard to separate the meme hype from like good game hype. You know what I mean? The meme hype versus the good game hype, that's tricky to overcome. Because like everyone's like, oh, I want to play you have to play Nigel Thornberry, ha ha ha. Like, I'm not gonna fucking purchase a game just so I can like a $60 game just so I can play as Nigel Thornberry just for the novelty of it, So, one, is it like the memes, like to me it's already like the jokes, like I already no longer really find it funny, the jokes about like, oh, my main's gonna be like, can't wait to be a Patrick main and do Patrick dashing and shit like that. Like, that stuff, I've already passed those jokes, basically, so now I'm just, like, looking at the game with heavy skepticism of, like, okay, let me let the dust settle. Is it actually a really good game? Is it better than, like, Smash Ultimate? because even Smash Ultimate, I'm probably not going to play that much competitively. I prefer Smash Melee. Smash Ultimate, I'll probably play casually to a degree. Then, like, am I gonna really buy another game that I'm probably just gonna play casually or something like that? So like, I'm short of Nickelodeon All Star Brawl or whatever being like just the best platform fighter ever, better than Melee or whatever. I'm probably not gonna pick it up. I'll probably play it at friend's place or something like that. Whoever happens to have it. Isan Garcia says, "Have you played Smash Ultimate?" Yeah. No, I've played Smash Ultimate. I don't own the game, but I'm probably gonna buy it. I do have a Switch now. I got a Switch like recently. Again, I play Mario Galaxy. That's so funny. I play Mario Galaxy on the Switch. I don't even play Odyssey. For some reason, I just specifically wanted to play Mario Galaxy because I remember it was like I played it a bit on the Wii and I just had nostalgia for it. It was like I know that game's fun. So when you want to go in a really de-stressed, relaxed, happy mode, I was like Mario Galaxy. That seems like the game for me. I'll probably buy Mario Odyssey or something like that soon. But after I beat Galaxy, if that ever happens. But Smash Ultimate, I played on friends' Switches and stuff like that. It's a fun game for sure. It took me like a solid adjustment period. At first, I was really bad at it. I was like, why am I so bad at it? Even though I played Melee quite a bit. It took me a solid adjustment period to like relearn how to play like that style of the game. It's hard to explain if you played Melee versus other Smash games, but like there's a very different style that you have to play with Ultimate. A lot of the fundamentals carry over, but there's a different style. Okay, so I had to relearn, and now that I kind of understand, now the main thing that throws me off is like I don't know what a lot of the characters can do. So yeah, that's the main thing. I think once I buy the game and actually play on, the ranked mode or whatever, the ranked mode, the online mode or whatever, and actually like get to learn what all the characters can do, then I think I'll have a lot more fun with it. All right, guys, it is 9 p.m. I'm gonna do one more question, a fun question to end the stream on. Let me see. Gabe C says should have waited for the OLED. All right, I don't know what OLED actually means. So when Nintendo Switch came out with when Nintendo came out with that, I was like a lot of people were like furious. They're like, oh, it just has like it's just an OLED upgrade. It's just an OLED upgrade, and I'm just like, I don't even know what an OLED upgrade means. Like, you guys are mad that it's not even enough of an upgrade. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck the upgrade was. So, yeah, I think I could do without the OLED stuff. I don't know what it means. Andrew Nola says, Morge, you can fight Braga and get Mario Kart as well. Yeah, I mean, I do have a good amount of friends that, like, have Switches, so in general, it'll be fun to play Mario Kart and Smash Ultimate. Switch is just, like, a good system. It's just, like, a really fun... It, like, got Nintendo back to, like, the basic stuff. Oily D says Aiden Brink. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Fancier screen in a nutshell. Yeah, I kind of picked up that it's fancier because I was like, what are the chances that OLED screen just means a worse screen? Probably 0. So I picked up on the fact that it's better for some reason, but I didn't really get the idea. I was like, so before this, were people looking at their Switches just being like, this grimy, ugly shit, I can barely see anything that's going on, and now it's clear? Riri says, I wish my wife's boyfriend would buy me a Switch. I know Jogger Wells' thoughts on 7. Saw it too long ago to have clear thoughts on it. I mean, not that long ago. I saw it in college. I really liked it. I really liked it. I didn't love it the way I think a lot of other people loved it. I think partly because, you've been spoiled on certain aspects, like, what's in the box? What's in the box? Like, I think I'd seen that ending scene in a clip before. You know Kevin Spacey's character is going to, like, maybe parts of it are basically, like, already being spoiled on certain aspects of it. But in general, like, throughout the movie, and a lot of what you're shown throughout the movie is still, like, shocking, jarring, suspenseful, good mystery. I love mystery movies. I really like mystery movies. I think mystery/horror movies I really enjoy. That's partly why I really want Hunter x Hunter to come back, because the current arc is like my perfect setup for what I want out of, like, it's like a giant horror mystery setup with a huge cast of characters in a very claustrophobic space, you don't understand how much I love that setup. It's like, Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, that sort of setup. I mean, Agatha Christie does that a lot in her books. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, by the way. You guys should read those books. Even if you're not a book reader, if you just like mysteries, read those mysteries. They're the best mysteries ever. Okay, well, I won't. No, I think they're the best mysteries they're the best mysteries around. All right, really, really good mystery books. All right. Yeah, The Prestige, The Imitation Game. I've seen The Imitation Game. Yeah. I actually see that for a class project thing, basically, like a film class. Go watch a movie that's playing in theaters right now. Do some stuff on it. All right. I'm gonna pick one last good question, and then I'm gonna call it a day. What's the last good question? Who's gonna get it? Also, guys, stream did not crash today at all. No one is talking about that. The Ethernet works. It was a really, really high quality stream, except for the sound quality. All right. If there's no other good questions, I'm probably gonna end it. Are you interested in Danganronpa since you like mystery stuff? I don't know what that is. Thank you. Persian Cat, what have you been asking? Thank you for your videos, Mr. Wojcik. What is Colby's purpose in One Piece and how will he progress? Listen, Persian Cat, I've seen your comments, but you keep calling him Colby. His name's not Colby. That's maybe why I've been mentally ignoring you so far. Like, I think I've noticed your comments. Your comments have stuck out to me because you keep calling him Colby. And I'm just like I'm skimming through stuff and I'm like, Colby. Someone keeps saying the word Colby. You're the one who's fucking saying Colby. What the fuck? His name is Kobe. So, listen, Persian Cat. Kobe's purpose in One Piece, how he will progress, in my opinion, I think Kobe, the way he's been used in both of his major scenes throughout the story so far, one being Alvida and two being Akainu, both times are basically Kobe stepping up to essentially say what most people would be scared to say in that situation, right? Standing up to someone who has power, who has authority over them, who's technically his boss, who could kill them if they wanted to. And even though he's not strong enough to do anything about it, he has the guts to stand up and say something about it. And both times, like in the first situation, Kobe's bravery is rewarded by Luffy. Second time, Kobe's bravery is rewarded by being saved by Shanks, right? So that's generally how Kobe's been treated throughout the story. So I think he's got one more big moment similar to that before the end of the story. So standing up to someone, and kind of pointing out maybe something about the Marines again, maybe shifting the hearts of people, doing something very brave or courageous, similar to an Usopp maybe. And I think, to me, that makes sense for what Kobe's set up to do by the end of the story. I think post-story he'll reach something like Admiral, Fleet Admiral, or whatever, that sort of position, but I think within the context of the story, I don't think he's going to reach that high of a level. I think more so his moment that he's set up for is probably something to do with bravery again. All right. And on that question, I think I am going to call it for this stream. Good stream, everyone, mostly because it never crashed. I will talk to you all later.